welcome back to another Club World Cup Fantasy deadline stream, this time at a match day 6 as we approach the semi-final stage. We are very close towards the end of this competition, but everything will be covered, so there will be a deadline stream for the Club World Cup final. The saying goes for a best team or best wildcard squad, as well as my team selection, which will aim to match that as much as possible. I haven't made any transfers so far, so I still have 5 eliminated players and the suspended Levi Colwill, and my aim is to bolster my ranks before this deadline. And yeah, I think I'm quite confident about it. It's just a few things to deliberate between and a few last minute decisions, but I'll try not to save that until the very end and have this locked in just in time. And if you do experience any kind of errors, I think it's called a system error here, then just retry and the transfer should go through. You would have seen it in my previous deadline stream as well. But let's get straight into your questions and comments. I'll answer every single one of them. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also the notification bell so you're always up to date with my Club World Cup Fantasy, FPL, and UCL Fantasy content. So the first question does come in from Kevy. Maybe it's just a comment. Hey bro, hope all is well. No clue who to captain today. Maybe we'll wait till the lineups are out. Have it on Thiago Silva at the moment. I'm backing Chelsea to win this game. That's why I would favour one of their attackers actually. Cucurella could be a decent shout in that defensive line, and Thiago Silva isn't a bad one, I think, from Fluminense. But yeah, captaincy poll is something I was actually considering to do on my channel. Maybe I'll do it in this stream instead. But Palmer is my favourite. I think Pedro Neto would be up there. I'm not sure if Joao Pedro starts, but if he does, I'm tempted to buy him and maybe even take a little cheeky captaincy punt there as well. But my overall favourite would be Cole Palmer. Got 56 points with 7 players eliminated and no wildcard. Still not the end of the world. You've got 5 transfers to deal with that, but ideally you'd have even more at your disposal so you can have a full 15-man squad. Bono, Cancelo, Marcus Leonardo, Elise, Kane, Paulinho, Svensson, still the players from the team that are eliminated. Yeah, and they were good picks, of course, in their own right. Elise was a big disappointment, though, ever since matchday 1, really, when he went off on one against Auckland City. GeoBoy says, Joao Pedro or Jackson? I think Jackson will start personally, but I'm not fully settled on that, and I might just buy Joao Pedro anyway. In terms of waiting for the Chelsea lineups, it's possible we get them before the deadline, but it isn't an absolute guarantee. We have seen, for example, in the Al Hilal Fluminense game for matchday 5, I think we got the lineup for Al Hilal, but not Fluminense, and it could be the same thing here. But instead, we don't get that crucial Chelsea news, which could determine whether you buy Jackson, Joao Pedro, or invest in a different forward. But I'll have a look at any Chelsea predicted lineups from today, because I was scouring the internet yesterday and didn't find anything. So there is one by the London Evening Standard, and I'm not sure if they have any inside information. My guess would be no. But they've actually got Joao Pedro in that lineup. So they've gone for Sanchez, Gusto, Chalobah, Tosin Adarabioyo, Cucurella, Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, who is now back from suspension, Pedro Neto, Palmer, Nkuku, and Joao Pedro. I think the general consensus would be that Pedro starts, so maybe I'm wrong about that, to be fair. And like I said before, I'm not fully settled on it, but you can't judge too much based on one predicted lineup by the London Evening Standard, who typically have decent ones, but you can't really count on them for that sort of information. If I see another Chelsea predicted lineup, I will let you know, but it's definitely worth bearing in mind. Just to kind of let you know, though, I'm quite keen on buying Joao Pedro at the moment as a differential. Take a -3 with 6 transfers, or just make 5 normal transfers. It depends on the player you're buying to make part of that -3 hit. But at the moment, I'd lean towards just the 5 free transfers. Johnny says I'm going for Pedro, and Nick Eddy thinks that Pedro will start. Looked good in the last game. Yeah, that makes sense, and Jackson has been out of action now for a few games. Now, to be fair with Joao Pedro, before that cameo against Palmeiras, he hadn't played football for several months, actually, because he was ostracised from the Brighton squad due to disciplinary issues. I think he had a fight with a fellow teammate. So, yeah, I'm quite surprised, actually, that he... Maybe not surprised, but the fact that he's capable of starting a semi-final already, I think that's where the element of shock maybe comes in for me. But making a cameo off the bench against Palmeiras, maybe not out of the question. Sazad says planning to take 4 each from PSG, Real, Chelsea, and then 1 from Fluminense. Yeah, I think that's fair. I talked about a similar sort of strategy in my best wildcard team video. Go all in on Chelsea, then balance things out between Real Madrid and PSG, even though I slightly favour PSG overall, and then go for one or two Fluminense players. Now, I think for those that are investing in the Brazilian outfit, that is one way of being a little bit different. You know, having these differentials, low owned picks, because if you look at the highest owned players in each position, they're all from the three semi-finalists who are the favourites to win this competition. And I will provide the updated goal scorer odds, clean sheet probabilities, even tournament winner odds on top of the ownership figures that were around earlier. Of course, they may have changed in the last couple of hours. Johnny says, time to play the qualification booster. Hope I can get 16 plus points. Yeah, I think the capabilities and the potential would have been higher in the round of 16, but we had a lot of shocks, and that didn't help those like myself who ended up playing the booster back then, going with 4, 4, 4, and 3. So that's a very balanced structure in terms of the semi-finalists. Well, that was my prediction, Johnny, when I saw the knockout bracket. So after the group stages, my prediction was a Chelsea-PSG final. If that's the case, I hope PSG win it, I guess, but ultimately, I'll be honest, I don't really care who wins it, but if I had to have a preference, it would be Chelsea not doing so. I have Delap, but I really want Pedro. Well, Delap is suspended anyway, we all know this, and I covered all the suspensions in my recent podcasts. I think Joao Pedro is a decent purchase there. Well, I'm going to the Club World Cup final, says Manish. Enjoy yourself. Deadline is at 11 AM today. Not sure if you'll see the lineup before then. Well, the kind of time that it's at doesn't really impact it, because we get the lineup 1 hour before the deadline. And of course, that's always the case now, except for Matchday 1, which we won't talk about again. But sometimes you do get some clubs releasing the lineup 1 hour, 15 minutes before the deadline, which helps you see, you know, which players are starting, who's benched, and then you can make an informed decision before the deadline fully locks in terms of transfers. Antonio Almeida says 4-1-5-5, so people are kind of highlighting their sort of structure at the moment. Weiseng says 12th man or max captain now. I'd say 12th man, and then use the maximum captain chip in Matchday 7. Why do I feel a Chelsea-Real Madrid final? I think that's possible. I'd like to see Fluminense have a shot at it, even though they're a Brazilian team, you know, someone a little bit different, but I think it's fair to say it'd be a shock if a European side didn't win this competition, and that was the case from the beginning of the tournament. Who's going to watch Chelsea tonight? No one, they're a small club. I'm joking. Calm down, everyone. Calm down. Max captain for the final, says Jonathan. Yeah, I agree. I think that's the best thing to do. Now, for those with only that chip left, you can still make a case of using it now, but you've got 2 windows for the captaincy. You can captain either a Chelsea or Fluminense player tonight, and then if it doesn't go according to plan, you are able to change it to a PSG or Real Madrid player tomorrow. Yeah, exactly. Delap is suspended tonight. I might as well read, you know, the full list of suspensions just for those that aren't aware. But before I do, let's go through some different screens, and one of them will be the Club World Cup Fantasy Mini League. You are still able to join, and throughout most of this video, you will see the code on the left-hand corner of your screen, and in the description, there's the code and an auto-join link. A big up to everyone who is in this league. Even 12th place Man United should be here. I think he might need to change his team name unless he wants United to finish 12th. I think they should be a little bit more ambitious than that, in my personal opinion. When I get any team news or predicted lineups, I will show them as well on screen. But for now, there isn't really anything for the 4 semi-finalists. So what I'm going to do quickly is show you my transfer plans and all the graphics from the team selection podcast yesterday. And if you want full commentary, then I'd suggest you check out that video as well for the full analysis. On screen, you can see my Matchday 5 performance. It was a little bit underwhelming, but I actually got my smallest ever green arrow, which was around 78 places. So not only in this game, but across UCL Fantasy, the Euros, World Cup, and FPL, I've never gotten a green arrow of just 78 places. But it's better than a red. I'll take it, especially after making multiple transfers, 7 overall, taking a -9 hit in the process. Now, going into Matchday 6, I'm also open to taking 1 hit. But apart from that, I don't think a -6 or above is really warranted in my scenario. And there is definitely a case of just using 5 free transfers and having 14 available players. Levi Colwill, who is suspended, would make way for his teammate Mark Cucurella, who could play more of a defensive role actually, especially with the other problems that Chelsea have at the back. Badiashile is out, it looks like, so Chalobah could be on the left-hand side alongside Cucurella, and we could see Malo Gusto on the right replacing the injured Reece James. And I think Gusto might get more license to go forward, and therefore Cucurella could play more of a defensive role. But we will see tonight, and either way, Cucurella is my favourite Chelsea defender from those that are available. But Tosin Adarabioyo is no longer a differential in terms of scouting bonus. I think his ownership is now 8.6%, but I'm looking to buy him in to replace Stanisic at the exact same price tag. And I've also corrected a few things from yesterday in terms of, pricing and positioning and stuff like that, as you probably would have seen by now. But Svensson to Samuel Javier is another transfer I'm looking at. He is doubtful at the moment, but I think he will start for Fluminense. And then Elise to Pedro Neto. I was considering buying the Portuguese winger for Matchday 5, but then I had second thoughts about him, and I thought he might not even play again in this tournament. But to his credit, he started after the tragic passing of his dear friend Diogo Jota, and he played relatively well in my opinion. But I do like the look of Neto in this tournament, and I also want to double up on that Chelsea midfield. I also think they will reach that final. And then Marcos Leonardo to Kylian Mbappe is a possible transfer, but only if I sell Jude Bellingham, and if I do so, it would likely be for a -3 hit. So let me know in the live chat, would you rather buy Joao Pedro for free and not take any hits, or buy Mbappe, sell Bellingham, and take a -3 hit in the process? Of course, there's more to it than that, because you could also argue the midfielder that I bring in for Bellingham, like Arias, could also be of high quality. But I think that's what it essentially comes down to. Buy Joao Pedro and Mbappe. Do I take no hits, or do I take a -3? And that will be my final decision before the deadline. So with all of that in mind, this will be my provisional team selection, but this is the aggressive route, buying Kylian Mbappe and selling Jude Bellingham as part of a -3 hit. So I would have Donnarumma in goal, Samuel Javier, who is currently an injury doubt, Tosin Adarabioyo and Cucurella, a midfield of Doué, Kvaratskhelia, potentially Arias alongside Pedro Neto and Cole Palmer, and up front it would be Mbappe and Germán Gano, and on the bench I would also have Sommer, who is eliminated. That will be the only player who won't feature in the semi-finals, and then Hakimi, Fran Garcia and Vinicius Jr. So that will be something a little bit different, I think, having Vinicius and Mbappe simultaneously. The only downside to this is taking a -3 hit and selling Bellingham, who can still perform relatively well against Paris Saint-Germain. And I'll try to show you the 50-man squad and how it would look like if I take the -3 hit and go for Joao Pedro instead. And hopefully we do get the Chelsea lineup before the deadline, and there we can kind of clear the air and see who starts between Jackson or Joao Pedro. Now, going into the Premier League next season, we could see them coexist together, but in this tournament, it looks like Joao Pedro is competing with Jackson, whilst Liam Delap is suspended. Before I go back to your questions, let me show you a few different stats, and these will be new and fresh, so I didn't show them in the team selection podcast. The goal scorer odds have been updated, and Kylian Mbappe is top once more, with a 43% chance of scoring against his former club, Paris Saint-Germain, but that's with the assumption that all of these players will start, and that won't be the case. Ousmane Dembele is second, and I did highlight both of them as my favourite captaincy options from that particular game. Cole Palmer is third, Gonzalo Ramos is fourth, and Jackson is fifth, and he could start as well. He is now back and ready to start there for Chelsea. Kvaratskhelia, Vinicius Jr., Joao Pedro, Gonzalo Garcia, Barcola, Nkuku, Desiree Doué, Madueke, who is heavily linked with Arsenal, Pedro Neto and Germán Gano complete this list, and they are the most likely goal scorers overall. I do agree with the odds there. In terms of clean sheet probabilities, Chelsea are leading by some distance with 47% chance of keeping a clean sheet against Fluminense. PSG are second with 25%. Then it's very close between Fluminense and Real Madrid at around 20%. Maybe you disagree and you put Madrid higher than Fluminense, but they have been very solid in this tournament from a defensive perspective. These are the updated ownership figures for goalkeepers. Donnarumma is the most template pick with 39% ownership. Courtois is second. I think his ownership has actually gone down a little bit. Maybe I need to double check that. Then we've got Fabio actually in last between the semi-finalists. Robert Sanchez is slowly creeping up and is currently at around 16% ownership. With defenders, Hakimi leads the way across all players actually with 67.9%. It's probably over 68% right now. Nuno Mendes is second. Trent, Cucurella, Dumfries, who is eliminated. That is the top five. Then it's followed by Fran Garcia, the injured Reece James. I don't think he'll start in matchday 6. Josko Gvardiol, who's also out. Samuel Javier is doubtful. And Freites is suspended. The 25-year-old Argentine will not play in the semi-finals against Chelsea. That's a massive blow for the Brazilian outfit. In the midfield, Kvaratskhelia, Elise, Palmer, Neto and Doué are the top 5 most owned players in this position, followed by Vitinha. Doué, Vitinha, Jude Bellingham, Ousmane Dembele, Enzo Fernandez and Federico Valverde. In the forward line, Mbappe and Gonzalo Garcia are the 2 standout picks in terms of ownership, and I have to say Garcia's had a great tournament overall. Vinicius is 4th. Then you've got Marmush, I forget about him. Germán Cano is the other one you really want to focus on because the rest in between are eliminated from this competition. Gonzalo Ramos from PSG is a nice differential, but I just don't see him starting, especially with Ousmane Dembele now back in the picture. He could get his first start in this competition against Real Madrid. The same goes for Kylian Mbappe, and a very similar kind of pattern for both Frenchmen in this tournament. They both scored their first goal in matchday 5, and they looked really sharp, of course. Mbappe's goal was brilliant. Dembele was really testing Bayern Munich throughout his cameo appearance and looked really sharp. He hit the crossbar as well with a ferocious shot. So those are the update ownership figures. You can also see the kind of overall list across every single position, and there is no Fluminense player in sight. So this is not something I'd recommend, but if you want to go differential, one way of doing it is kind of piling up on Fluminense because most people gravitate towards Chelsea, and even between PSG and Madrid, you'd have between 3 to 5 players from those clubs respectively. But I think Fluminense could be worth that sort of punt. They've been very impressive in this tournament, especially in that defensive line with Fabio in goal, Freites, who is suspended, Samuel Javier, and other options across each position, and Arias in the midfield. He might not be the most consistent with goal contributions, but his performances have been outstanding. Germán Cano up front is a veteran goal scorer, and you've also got a few outside shouts like Martinelli, who unfortunately is suspended, and Hercules, who has been scoring clutch goals for them in the knockout stages. But I think it's now worth talking about the suspensions actually and the doubtful players. There is one player I didn't really highlight enough yesterday, and that is going to be Badiashile, and he is actually ruled out, I think, of matchday 6. So we all know the semi-finalists and also the bracket. I think that comes as no surprise right now, but the updated odds for winning this tournament have changed. PSG now have a 38.1% chance of winning the Club World Cup. Real Madrid are second, and I do agree with this. The winner of that game would become the favourite to win this. Chelsea are third with 24.5%, and then a massive gap between them and their semi-final opponents, Fluminense, with a 5.6% chance of winning this tournament. In terms of the suspensions, Chelsea have Delap and Colwill, who are unavailable. Reece James as well. I just don't even think he's going to be in the squad, actually. And if there are any Chelsea fans in the chat, let me know your thoughts on that as well. With Fluminense, Freites and Martinelli are suspended. Samuel Javier should be available, and I think he'll start in matchday 6. For PSG, Pacho and Lucas Hernandez picked up a red card against Bayern Munich. I'm not entirely sure if that means they also would miss the final should PSG advance to that stage, but they are definitely missing the semi-finals. That's something I can tell you with absolute certainty. And Real Madrid also got a red card with Dean Howson against Borussia Dortmund. And in terms of yellow cards, all of them have been wiped out. So if any player gets a yellow card in the semi-final, they will still be available for matchday 7. And that's its own entity because you can't make substitutions or change the captaincy, and you get up to 6 free transfers, and all you need are 11 players. So let's now go back to my team and also answer your questions, and very shortly I'll be making my transfers and just discussing football with all of you. Keep on liking the video, subscribing, sharing, all that good stuff. It goes a long way to boosting us up in the algorithm. Yeah, all good, Athava. Hopefully you are doing well too. I don't think Reece James will start. Maybe he's not going to be on the bench, maybe, but I think he'll be good still on the right. Yeah, I was asked this in my recent deadline stream. I think we can get some prices in the next week. In terms of FPL launching, I think from the 15th of July and beyond. I'd be surprised if it was before that. It's possible. But I think what they might do is kind of wait until the end of the Club World Cup to fully launch, and everyone's attention will be fully on FPL. Now, of course, there's kind of levels to this. Not that many people are playing this game compared to FPL, but I think that might be their strategy. We saw something similar with the Euros last season. Welcome, Athartha, as well. Jonathan says 12th man now. Yeah, depends on your remaining chips, but if you've got the 12th man and max captain, I'd use the 12th man now for sure. And I've been quite consistent on this. I think the 12th man is best deployed as early as possible, even though in my case I got it completely wrong. Had a bit of bad luck going for Mbappe back in matchday 1. Juniper says, bollocks, I had to use the wildcard early because they botched up the start. Oh yeah, I remember that. That is kind of a domino effect. It's one of the worst kind of things that's happened in a fantasy game, but it's still been a lot of fun. But matchday 1, I mean, I don't know what they were doing with that deadline, and it just seems like nothing happened basically from their perspective. I'll use the 12th man on Joao Pedro or Jackson. Interesting. That's a nice way of looking at it. I think from the PSG Madrid game, that's tougher to call on paper. I think PSG are the better team, but Madrid have the pedigree and history and also the star quality. So I think that's a reasonable take, actually. Christian Delgadillo says, I have one transfer left. Should I buy Dembele or Palmer and sell either Arda Güler or Enzo, or keep both? I also have Vitinha, Bellingham and Kvaratskhelia. I actually like Arda Güler in this tournament. He's playing in a deeper role, but his consistency has been really impressive, and he's also creating chances, getting assists. He's been my favourite Madrid player in this tournament, actually. I'm not sure about selling him, but Enzo Fernandez is playing in an offensive role for Chelsea, even with, Caicedo suspended in matchday 5. Now he's back. So if I had to pick one midfielder to sell, I might actually say Vitinha. The only downside to that is that he's on penalties. Now, if you want to keep Vitinha and you're like, no, Dylan, it's between Arda Güler or Enzo, then I might lean towards selling Arda Güler, which is kind of ironic because in my best wildcard team, I had 2 Chelsea midfielders and they were Pedro Neto and Palmer, and I also had Arda Güler as my Madrid coverage there. So it's all team dependent, but I think Enzo Fernandez in isolation and having that Chelsea midfielder is more important. And of course, you're looking to buy either Dembele or Palmer. I would lean towards Cole Palmer personally, but as you saw in the odds, Dembele is second in terms of chance of scoring in matchday 6, and Palmer is third. Hello, Dylan. Let's rock the semi-finals. Yes, Valentino, good to see you as always. I think you're a Chelsea fan, if I'm not mistaken. Easy to overtake 13,000 dead teams. Yeah. Now, to be fair, I think the people ahead of me, there might be a few dead teams, but I think most of them are quite engaged with the game, actually. Heavy says, have Delap with 0 transfers. Should I sell him, do you think? Don't know who to. Well, Mbappe, Garcia, Vinicius, and Joao Pedro will be the standouts, actually. That's one of the key changes from my best wildcard team. I'd replace Remangano with Joao Pedro. Just be wary that you can't pick more than 6 players from the same club at this stage of the competition. But yeah, I think Joao Pedro could be worth the punt, actually. And if you're struggling for differentials, that is definitely one you could be looking towards. Bought Joao Pedro for Delap. Vamos. Yeah, I think I'm looking at something similar. He was a bit of a troll for me in FPL, but I would try not to let that affect my judgment. Gonzalo, Reece, Dembele, Mbappe might be taking too many risks. Well, Reece James I don't think will start for what it's worth. With Dembele and Mbappe, though, I think both of them will start. It would be very harsh on Gonzalo Garcia, but maybe, why not bench Vinicius? I mean, don't do that, Xabi Alonso, please, because I got Vinicius in my team. But yeah, I understand why you're a bit hesitant and also a bit worried, but I think Reece James is the only one who definitely won't start. With the rest, I think it's up in the air, and we could see Mbappe and Garcia starting simultaneously, even though it's quite unlikely, to be fair. Yeah, I think Dembele is ready to start. I agree. He looked really sharp against Bayern Munich. Athava says, I have 8 players eliminated. What shall I do? You don't need to get to a full 15-man squad. As you saw with my transfer plans, I'm quite open to just using 5 free transfers and getting to 14. In your case, it's a little bit different. So I've got 6 players either eliminated or suspended. You've got 8. I'd say take a -3 or -6 in your situation. Hi, should I replace Colwell for a -3? Depends who you're bringing in, but at this stage, the only defenders I think that are definitely worth it are Hakimi and then a Chelsea defender for the clean sheet probability. So I would lean towards no, actually. But then again, I was discussing some transfer plans which included a -3 here, and Colwell was one of those transfers. So it is all team dependent, but in isolation, I'd probably lean towards no. Managed as captaining Hakimi. Well, you can do that tomorrow, but you've got an opportunity to captain a Chelsea or Fluminense player now before the deadline. And to be fair, you can just do that before the game starts. So do that first, and then you can switch to captaincy to Hakimi or whoever you want from that game. My favourites would be Parma in the Chelsea-Fluminense match, and between PSG Real Madrid, it's a really close call between Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele. What do you think about Gonzalo Mbappe for Marcos Leonardo and Joao/Jackson for Garassi? I lean towards Joao Pedro at the moment. I think most outlets would kind of back him to start over Jackson anyway. I think that might be the right call. Between Mbappe and Garcia, I would go for Mbappe, but it's worth recognising Garcia and the great job he's done in Mbappe's position. Gonzalo -3. Bringing him in for a -3, not for me, and I wouldn't sell him for a -3 either. So I think no matter what the situation is, I wouldn't take a -3 hit involving Gonzalo Garcia. James was in the official starting lineup and was injured moments later. Exactly. And I think in the last deadline stream, I was asked repeatedly, why is Reece James not ranked highly when you're ordering your best Chelsea defenders? Why are you not going for Reece James? And I get it. You know, he's a quality player, but he's far too injury prone. I've been saying this in every single FPL video, UCL Fantasy when I cover him, and now in this game as well. It's a shame, but it's just the way things are. And there's a reason why his minutes are so managed by Enzo Maresca and previous Chelsea managers. I think Jackson is on the sell list already, says Weiseng. Is this for Chelsea on the transfer market? That'd be interesting. Hopefully Arsenal don't buy him, though. Zubimendi and Gyökeres. Yeah, all of a sudden, the last week looks much more positive for Arsenal, and I'm much more optimistic if they get these deals done. Obviously, Zubimendi's already secured. Kepa as well. Norgard, I think, should be announced in the next day or two. As a squad player, that's fine. Not something I would have wanted before this transfer window, but I think that could be decent depth and also experience. I think Gyökeres is a game changer, to be honest, and it might take him a while to kind of gel, but you finally get a goal scorer who can get 20-plus Premier League goals, 30-plus across all competitions, and it also gives the likes of Saka and the left winger more space to operate, fewer double-ups there happening with Saka. The midfield can also create more chances and have more space because they're also focusing on Gyökeres. It's different marking him to Kai Havertz, Gabriel Jesus, or just playing Mikel Merino up there, for example. Yeah, Pedro had a fight with Van Heck. That was the player. I was kind of unsure about the specific player, but yeah, it was Van Heck. Look, I don't want to judge him. I don't know Joao Pedro whatsoever, but it does seem from the outside that he does have some disciplinary issues. You know, he got away with multiple red cards last season for Brighton, but he does have quality, a great penalty taker, and he does have that sort of moment of magic in him, which we saw at Watford as well. Lager says, do you think it will be a lot of goals in both the semi-finals? I'm a bit tempted going for the max captain. Yeah, look, there's no right or wrong time to use any of these chips, and I said this before, right? I wanted to use the max captain in Matchday 1, and I always said for me the 12th man in Matchday 1 and the max captain in Matchday 7. But if I had used the max captain in Matchday 1, I would have gained 19 points and also saved my 12th man, which was an absolute disaster. So sometimes you need some luck to go your way as well, but I think the Madrid-PSG game could be high-scoring. Chelsea-Fluminense, I think, will be low-scoring, actually. Like a 1 or 2-0. Maybe both teams score, like 1-1 goes to penalties, but yeah, I'm anticipating a lower-scoring game in the Chelsea match tonight. Guys, I have 9 players who got knocked out, and I use my wildcard. What do I do? So similar to what I suggested to Atharda, I would probably say a -3 or -6 and get to 12, 13 players, I guess, around that sort of thing. The most important thing is to get to a full 11. Flashcore says not Pedro, but Jackson. Yeah, I think SofaScore have put Jackson in their predicted lineup, but you can't really look too much into it. The London Evening Standard also have Joao Pedro in the mix. Isn't it your last opportunity to use the qualification booster anyway? If I'm not mistaken, I believe so, but what they might do, because there's no kind of like clarification on this in the rules section, I think if you use the qualification booster in Matchday 7, whoever wins the game will technically qualify to the trophy, I guess. So maybe you get points for, you know, having players from the team that win it. But I think you should use it now anyway, to be quite honest with you. Chalobah will start? Yeah, I think so. Levi Cole was suspended. Badiashile is out. It will be Chalobah alongside Tosin Adarabioyo. And to be honest, I'm actually looking at Chalobah now instead of Tosin because of the ownership figures. So he does qualify for the scouting bonus. And he also got a brilliant assist for Cole Palmer to set up the opening goal against Palmeiras in Matchday 5. It's possible nightmare, but not a guarantee. I mentioned this a few times in this deadline stream already. So in the Fluminense Al Hilal game, which kicked things off for Matchday 5, we saw Al Hilal reach the lineup like 1 hour, 15 minutes before. So that meant before the deadline, we could actually, see who starts for them and who's benched. And Fluminense, we only got that at kickoff at the deadline. So it was 1 hour before. So we couldn't make any transfers or changes based on that information. So it does depend on the team as well. But there is a possibility we get the information for both Chelsea and Fluminense this time round. Dembele and Mbappe to start. Yeah, I think so. In terms of essentials, I think Hakimi would be up there for me. Also Chelsea coverage for me. So 1 or 2 defenders, maybe Sanchez in goal. Palmer, a second Chelsea midfielder maybe. I wouldn't say they're essentials, but that's the sort of structure I'd be aiming for in Matchday 6 actually. So there's a lot of questions coming in. I will try to get through every single one of them. Claudette says, is Vinicius, Mbappe and Garcia too much Real Madrid? I feel like there's not a lot on offer for forwards. Well, you are right about that. It might seem that way. Vinicius is out of form. Mbappe was doing really well before the illness that he got. And obviously he scored a great goal against Borussia Dortmund. And Garcia's been really consistent in the Club World Cup. But you could also consider Germán Gano from Fluminense or Joao Pedro/Jackson from Chelsea. PSG don't really have anyone except Gonzalo Ramos, and he's not going to get the minutes you want. So I think going for those 3 forwards is definitely viable instead. But my recommendation would be either Joao Pedro or Jackson instead of either Vinicius Jr. or Gonzalo Garcia. 12th man or qualification booster? I'd say qualification booster and use the 12th man in Matchday 7. Now, some people watching might have 3 or 4 chips remaining, and that means you won't be able to use all of them, and you will burn 1 or 2 chips in the process. If Pedro starts, just get Pedro, mate. Yeah, I agree, but we might not get the information before the deadline, so you might just have to guess and hope for the best there. Welcome to Fenerbahce as well. Hello, mate. How's it going? Yeah, all good. My voice is a little bit shaky. It's just, I don't know, strep throat and post-nasal drip, whatever, but apart from that, it's all good. Yeah, not even an apology from the FIFA Fantasy Tower. Yeah, look, I know some people will be laughing. It's like, you want an apology? Well, at least like an update or, an explanation of what happened. I mean, that's what I wanted back, when it happened. They didn't do it, so it's all done now. But I just felt it was really strange, and it did cost a lot of people points for Matchday 1, and it also had a knock-on effect for Matchday 2 and 3. It might have resulted in an earlier wildcard, and then that also impacts them for Matchday 5, for example, when they have multiple eliminations, but it is what it is, right? James posted on his Instagram the day after the Chelsea match that he was good to go. Yeah, look, maybe he is, to be fair, but I think after that little scare, does he start the game? I'm not entirely sure. I think Gusto will, so James should be in the squad. Maybe I was wrong about that earlier, but yeah, I'm just not so sure if he starts. Yeah, I agree with what he's saying. If it was me, I would only play him, in the second hour, I'm guessing. Well, the second hour. Don't sell penalty takers versus Madrid. Asensio will start. Yeah, maybe. Good point. It's just from those 5 midfielders, I think Vitinha from open play has the least attacking threat. So maybe the right call is to sell Arda Güler instead, but he's had a great tournament. I wouldn't fight with Van Heck, says Gio Boys. Fair enough. Cano and Arias punt on Fluminense. That's the best way of covering their team offensively. So I'm not against that, but I am backing Chelsea to win in the semi-final. So my approach is to kind of go all in on Chelsea with 5 or 6 players. That includes 2 or 3 defenders / Sanchez in goal, and then 2 Chelsea midfielders, maybe Joao Pedro up front. But yeah, I think those are definitely viable. I would say yes. I think Garcia does start, but what does that mean for Mbappe / Vinicius? I think the most likely one to drop out would be Mbappe, but we saw in Matchday 5 off the bench he can still do something in limited minutes. It's tough, Toma. I think some outlets do have Joao Pedro starting. It's not a guarantee either way, to be honest. I'm kind of 50-50 on it myself. I'd lean towards yes at the moment, but Jackson is now back in the fold. Delap is suspended. It's not maybe a great call for Matchday 6 and 7 combined, but we're going to be really limited with forwards anyway, especially if Madrid are knocked out. I mean, who do you even go for in the final if it's Chelsea-PSG? You go for Gonzalo Ramos, Joao Pedro and Jackson, I guess. Delap. You're going to be really limited, but yeah, I think Pedro will start in Matchday 6. Yeah, Freitas is suspended. Samuel Xavier is a doubt, but he should be available. I haven't seen any kind of updates suggesting that he's going to be, missing the semi-final. Would be funny if Madueke and Jackson both joining Arsenal and fighting for the Prem again. Oh, for Pen again, for the Prem. Yeah, with Cole Palmer. When it happened, obviously, I kind of thought it was a really foolish situation, and Palmer is the designated penalty taker, but I was kind of bantering Palmer at the time, amongst my friends anyway. Palmer or Dembele? I'm going to say Palmer because of the fixture. Really close, though. Arsenal is the Saudi Pro League for Chelsea players. I mean, look, it is kind of a weird thing, weird relationship between those two, and recently Chelsea just sell their players and Arsenal buy them. I think Jorginho was a good deal. I think Kepa for 5 million is really good business. Then you go into Willian, terrible. Raheem Sterling, I don't know what Arsenal were thinking there. It made no sense whatsoever. But there have been some hits and misses. I think Jorginho was the best one up until now. Who will Maresca use at centre-back? I think Badiashile is out, mate. So it should be Tosin Adarabioyo and Chalobah, because Levi Colwill is suspended, as mentioned earlier. Morgoth says 2-0 for Fluminense. Write to me after the game. How do I write to you? I mean, on YouTube, I'd have to go live again or something. Maybe in the next deadline stream I'll do that. Yeah, not so much an apology, but an acknowledgement and promise to do better in 4 years' time. Or next year for the World Cup, because it's going to be the same team making the game. And despite the faults of the Qatar World Cup and the fantasy game there, we never had any issues with the deadline locking in early. That's something that's really strange, and it's the worst thing you can do, in my opinion. I saw some people say, oh, you had weeks to lock in your team, but you know, there was still an hour left before the deadline, and people wanted to make late changes based on maybe some information and stuff like that. And yeah, I probably in hindsight, I wish I locked my team in earlier, but it is what it is, right? What do you think about Beraldo for differential PSG coverage? Yeah, it's a good shout. That's the only way you can go differential there with scouting bonus, but I'll be honest, with PSG defensively, it's Hakimi all day long, then Nuno Mendes, Donnarumma in goal. I think it's worth going for the extra millions and the template picks of those players over Lucas Beraldo, who does get quite a few yellow cards, and I also don't really have that sort of trust in him in terms of anything other than a clean sheet, and I don't think PSG will keep one against Real Madrid. So if you want to go for a differential defender, Chalobah is my top recommendation for Matchday 6. What about Hercules? He's been getting the job done. Yeah, I think so. Maybe Arias isn't the one actually in the midfield, but it's Hercules. I've always highlighted Arias's, ability as a dribbler and creator, but in terms of goal scoring, his record isn't that good actually. Hercules in recent games has been doing the job. The minutes aren't great though. He's getting 45 minutes. He might be getting a cameo off the bench and stuff like that. That's my major concern with him, but he's a cheap midfielder, and if you're going for that sort of differential, I think it's one of the best ways to go about it actually. Yeah, I think Dembele starts the semi-final, yeah. I think he looked really sharp against Bayern Munich, and it would make a lot of sense for him to start there. João Pedro is added to the game. He just doesn't have a face, but he cost 6.5 million. He was actually added before the Matchday 5 deadline. Other than Cucurella, is Gusto the best option? I'm not Sean Connery. I'd say Chalobah for the scouting bonus. Reese says, who do I transfer out for Dembele? I have Arias, Due, Barcola, Neto, and Palmer. I'd transfer out Barcola. Yeah. Barcola out for Dembele. Chelsea is a factor for Arsenal to get the supply players. Maybe. It's just Chelsea have too many players, and then ultimately they need to sell some of them. Yeah, I mean, Kepa, I understand it, I'm not going to hate on that sort of move. Hopefully he does well in the cup games and whenever called upon, but yeah, Madueke is a weird one, in my opinion. Could he do well at Arsenal? Yeah, he could, but if that impacts Arsenal's ability to get Eze and Rodrigo, no chance that I'd want that. It was obvious enough for Hurstler to want to sell João Pedro, says Twisted Parky. Yeah, which is a shame because I think he was quite complimentary about him in press conferences early in the season, and João Pedro has a good record against big teams. Latino Rubicon says, I have Mendes, Hakimi, Garcia, Cucurella, Gusto. Is Gusto the best option from remaining Chelsea players? Like I mentioned just now, for me, the favourite one is Chalobah, but Gusto isn't too shabby. Last 2 game weeks, Hakimi was my captain. I'm going again. Yeah, I kind of wish I did switch from Palmer to Hakimi in the previous match day, and I still don't know what happened to Palmer's key passes point, by the way. Does anyone actually know what that is? And also with Elise, basically for all midfielders, if you create 2 chances, you get an additional point. So that would have meant Palmer finished on 9. But anyway, Yeah, Kimi didn't play particularly well against Bayern, but that assist was brilliant for Ousmane Dembele, and that's what he can offer you in any given match day. I don't think he'll do well against Real Madrid, though, from a fantasy perspective, but maybe I'll be proven wrong. I would use it now, says Twisted Parky. Not certain qualification bonus will pay out in Game Week 7. Exactly, and even if the qualification booster works for the Club World Cup winner, so the one that wins the Matchday 7 final, you've got the ability to have two teams, getting points for you for qualifying to the final in Matchday 6. So I think the earlier this chip is used, the better. So yeah, I think you are right there, Twisted Parky. Badiashile, I think, is out, as mentioned before, Alex. So it should be Chalobah and Tosin Adarabioyo at centre-back. Mudryk is a regret. Chelsea fans signing that Arsenal should sign him if time can reserve. That's not going to happen, especially after the allegations against him and the investigation, I think. Mudryk is one of the worst buys ever. Yeah, even when Arsenal were in for him, I just wasn't really sure about it. Like, that's way too much money for a player with limited experience, and, he was an unknown quantity in the Premier League. It's kind of reminded me of the Sesko one, even though he's probably got a little bit more to him in terms of experience and also output for RB Leipzig, but yeah, just way overpriced. Which position does Fran Garcia play now that Mbappe is back? Well, I think you're referring to Gonzalo Garcia. That would have no impact on Fran, who is a left-back for Real Madrid, and he should start once more. Gonzalo Garcia will likely play alongside Mbappe in a two-striker formation, or if Mbappe comes in, I think Garcia drops to the bench, actually, if it's only one striker being played by Real Madrid. Should I have Mbappe and Dembele in my team? I have Gonzalo Garcia too, just in case Xavi goes crazy. I'd go for both of them, yeah. Mbappe and Dembele. They are my favourite options for the captaincy from tomorrow's match. Gusto's also scouting bonus. Fair enough. Let me check his ownership quickly. I mean, with Reece James on the bench potentially, I think that's what's going to happen. We could see minutes being shared. That won't be the case with Chalobah. It can work one of two ways, of course. Gusto's ownership is, 3.2. Should be safe. I don't think he'll go to 5% or above. Yeah, I think Gusto or Chalobah are decent options. I'm going to look at one of those two, I think, instead of Tosin Adarabioyo. Palmer got a yellow card, so -1. No, otherwise he'd be suspended for the semi-final. He got a booking against Benfica when he protested a decision, but he didn't get it in Matchday 5, so I'm not sure why he didn't get the 9 points. Are you sure that's the deadline? It says something in the website and another when you open the app. This was covered multiple times from my Club World Cup fantasy coverage. Originally, the deadline was supposed to be at kickoff. That wasn't the case. In Matchday 1, it was even worse because on the app and the website, it said, I think, 12 a.m. in the UK, and it ended up locking at 11 p.m. So it was 2 hours before kickoff and 1 hour before the original deadline. But basically, since then, they've got it spot on, and the deadline is 1 hour before kickoff. Nkuku is also a forward in the game. He could do something. Yeah, maybe. Maybe you're right. But I think Nkuku is far too inconsistent. But with these Chelsea forwards, yeah, you just don't really see all of them staying at the club. Jackson is linked with moves away. Nkuku as well, to clubs like Bayern Munich. Best 12th man for this week. Mbappe or Dembele if you don't have them. Hi Dylan, do you prefer Pedro Neto or Dembele? It's probably going to be Dembele still, but really close. Yeah, Gusto's a good option in defence, yeah. Should I have Mbappe and Dembele in my team? Yeah, that's been covered. What boost do we use and on who? Well, what other boosters do you have? I mean, it's hard for me to say without knowing the context, but maximum captain in Matchday 7, in my opinion. It would be Palmer there, Joao Cunha. Palmer didn't get it because the creators of this app are idiots. It's just inconsistent, though, and it does lead to an imbalance because in most match days, I think, the key passes were added for midfielders, so why is it not in Matchday 5? That's the sort of, problems you have. It's a nice idea in principle to give points for these different, aspects of the game, but if you're not going to apply it all the time, you might as well not have it in the first place. Easy says how much percentage of Gyökeres will do well, or Arsenal fans bash him if he's not performing as expected. I think Arsenal fans will give him time, the reasonable ones anyway. Of course, we have the expectation to win now, and Gyökeres is a signing to win the league this season and also in the years to come. But if Gyökeres doesn't score against Man United in match day 1, obviously that'd be frustrating, but I don't think Arsenal fans will abuse him. Fenerbahce says, do you think it would make more sense to sell suspended players or keep to see if he plays in the final? Well, yeah, in the case of Levi Colwill, he should play in the final should Chelsea make it there, but look, in my case, I can make 5 free transfers and sell Sommer instead of Colwill, so you might be onto something there. But if I also want Joao Pedro, Pedro Neto, and all these other players, I can't get to Robert Sanchez, for example, in goal because I've got Levi Colwill, who's occupying my 6th Chelsea player. Not an issue for match day 7, where you can get up to 8 players from the same team, but you also have to be very mindful about that, the structure, and also how many Chelsea players you've got in your setup already. Gano or Gonzalo Garcia? Probably Garcia. You need to have a big chance created, 2 of them for 1 point. I'm not so sure about that, mate, because I think early in the competition, I saw someone with 2 key passes, 1 big chance created, and by the way, one of those key passes was a big chance created. So it's not like it was 2 key passes and 1 big chance created, and they got the point. So yeah, I'm just not so sure what it is, actually. Yeah, James should be okay. That's been covered already. Does he start the game? I'm not so sure. It is a little bit risky after pulling out of the warm-up against Palmeiras. Sammy says worth the risk using wildcard and getting 6 Chelsea players and 0 Fluminense. Well, I'd use the wildcard now if you still have it, and it allows you to be aggressive with moves like that. There's always an element of risk, whether you go all in on Fluminense, which would definitely be risky, or you do this approach of 6 Chelsea, 0 from the Brazilian side. But yeah, I think it's worth it. How many Fluminense players would you think we should aim to have? Well, if you're backing Chelsea to win, then you don't need to have that many, maybe 2 maximum. Now, of course, if you're backing Fluminense to go through, then I'd say go for 3 or 4 players maybe, but it all depends on your prediction. In my case, I've only got Germán Cano. I might add Samuel Javier in my defensive line or Ignacio as a differential, and that's about it. So I'm probably aiming for 2 Fluminense players, and I think Chelsea will reach the final. So for those that haven't already, like this video, subscribe, all that good stuff. I do appreciate the turnout, you know, for all these Club World Cup fantasy videos and live streams. So the aim will be to get this to over 150 likes. Let's be sure to get that before the deadline, which should be in 1 hour and 4 minutes time, actually. Who would you say the top 10 defenders are that are left? Oh, top 10. Probably worth going to this section again, and we'll skim through to defenders. So yeah, Hakimi is top. I think that goes without saying. I'd put Cucurella at 2nd. Malo Gusto maybe 3rd. Chalobah 4th. Yeah, maybe not in terms of ranking all of them in order. That could be quite a challenge, but I'd put Trent's name in there, Samuel Javier. I'd also put Fran Garcia, Nuno Mendes. I think Beraldo, just because he's a differential, covering for William Pacho, but it only works for match day 6. So if PSG go through to the final and Pacho is available for that game, I'm not sure how the red card rule works here. Yeah, I think that could be very short term, but for match day 6, I do like Lucas Beraldo. But yeah, I'd be favouring those defenders instead. From Fluminense, you can go for others, like Ignacio, who I mentioned earlier. So yeah, Hakimi, Nuno Mendes, Cucurella, Gusto, Chalobah, Tosin Adarabioyo, Samuel Javier, Ignacio, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and Fran Garcia. That's my top 10. Hopefully I haven't said anyone twice. If I have, I do apologise. But yeah, that is a kind of rough top 10 list there. Yeah, in Cuckoo, I think the minutes are maybe a little bit insecure, just like Joao Pedro or Jackson, to be fair. But yeah, he could start the game as a second striker / attacking midfielder. So a decent punt, actually. But I'm more keen on Joao Pedro at the moment. But that could definitely be one to look at, actually. I'm quite open-minded with the Chelsea forwards. Which parts of this game, if any, would you like to see them adopt in FPL? Good question. I mean, the passes or the points for key passes and stuff, I'd like to see if they're implemented consistently. But in my opinion, they haven't been because, like I mentioned, Elise and Cole Palmer, didn't get the points in match day 5, and then people were like, oh no, but it means big chance created. And that's something I actually debated early in this competition when someone, you know, pointed out that they haven't been added, but they're supposed to be key passes, so it's just inconsistent application. But if they were quite, you know, set on it and you got clarity on those sort of points, I would like to see them in FPL actually, and it gives you different options. So for defenders, for example, I'd also like to see like ball recoveries or tackles in that position as well. So you can pick between, you know, a centre back and right back and not just go for the so-called attacking option in that position. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. Are we doing maximum captain? No, not for me. I think match day 7. Really? Why would the deadline be now? Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, I'm going to make my transfers now then. But it's probably too late now, isn't it? Are you serious that the thing is now? Why would it be... What? Not again, FIFA. I'm traumatized from this, so even if someone's trolling me, I probably will fall for it, because I don't trust this game, or FIFA in general. But yeah, it's probably worth just making transfers. I'm just going to put Gusto. Let's put Gusto. Chalobah. Can I get Pedro Neto? Yeah, I can, and I've got 1 free transfer remaining, and that's where I can get Samuel Javier. Do I make the transfers now? Not yet. Deadline is 1 hour before kickoff. No, I know, but I'm telling you, I'm traumatized. You know that meme of that guy in like the war zone? Oh, for fuck's sake. I can't click save. Are you serious? Well, I literally just said, I'm not sure. I haven't even made a transfer. Calm down. This is some bloody idiot in the chat is saying it. Let me check. I'm telling you, it's PTSD. It's that, you know, let me put the picture up. And then you'll see what I'm talking about. You can still make transfers, okay? Just to avoid panicking, you can still make transfers, okay? So whoever that was, it's not funny. It isn't. Let me get that picture up now, so you can visualize how I was feeling in that moment. PTSD meme. We shouldn't be making memes of PTSD, but that is the social media world we live in. Why am I getting things about SpongeBob when typing PTSD in? Fuck? But yeah, I'm telling you, this game cannot be trusted. Now, you might get a system error in the next hour or so. Don't worry about it. All you need to do is click retry, and the transfers will go through. And that's what you need to lock in, your transfers. In terms of your subs and, you know, your captaincy, you've still got time to do that after the deadline passes. So, yeah, hopefully we're not locked in yet, and we can enjoy the next hour or so in peace. But yeah, I can't find the PTSD meme for some reason, and my computer's bugging out, so hopefully it does fix itself very soon. Okay, yeah, this is the image I'm talking about. Wait, text here? No, I don't want to add text. Oh, maybe I should, actually. Okay. All right, I'll go retry that. When you see it, actually, I'm not even sure what I'm doing. Let's go to this. This is another site I've never used before. Text here. Just because I don't know what to say, I'm just going to put Bumper Club. So there you go. Yeah, that's pretty much how I was in that moment. So yeah. Not good. I don't want to feel that way again in a deadline stream. Yeah, 7 PM is in the UK and Madrid in the same time zone, for fuck's sake. He is a troll. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I made my shit. This must be bullshit. Yeah, love the list. What I was thinking, is Nuno Mendes playing? Yeah, Nuno Mendes is just going to play. Delete that troll, yeah. Let me do that. the slimy git is probably like deleted his messages as well. Maybe he actually meant it. On his app, it said 6. I mean, who knows at this point. But I kept getting messages about the deadline from some people saying, oh no, it's actually in 5 minutes or something. And I was like, what? Come on, let's not do that again. Okay, so this is the guy. Okay, don't send a boost to him, but this is the guy, I think. Yeah. I shouldn't have probably highlighted his comment. ¿Ya salió la alineación del Chelsea? No, porque ellos juegan a las 8 de la noche en el Reino Unido y todavía falta casi 2 horas para ese partido, así que no. Dembele or Palmer? I covered this a few times, mate. I prefer Cole Palmer for Matchday 6. Yeah, Pacho and Lucas Hernandez suspended for 2 matches. Dean Howson, 1 match ban. Thank you for that, Easy99. Any injury news? Badiashile, I believe, is out for Chelsea. Reece James should be in the squad, but I don't think he'll start after that injury scare in the warm-up. There was also Samuel Javier, who's doubtful. He was subbed off due to injury in the quarterfinals, but he should be available. Yeah, apart from that, I think all good to go. Yeah, there might be 1 or 2 that I've missed out on, but yeah, if that's the case, let me know in the live chat. We are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero. My voice has gone anyway. I'm not going to try that, but I did, technically. So, I actually was about to click this button, and I was going to bring in Joao Pedro, Gusto, Chalobah, Pedro Neto, 5 free transfers, no hits taken, and I keep Jude Bellingham. So, I'm going to put a poll out. I love my polls, don't I? Like I'm running a general election here. So, let's put this bloody poll here. So, which of these transfers do you prefer? I will probably not have enough in terms of, what's it called, characters for this. Yeah, sorry, Marius, and to anyone else who may have made transfers because of it. It's just, we had a very similar situation in Matchday 1. I didn't hear that in Matchday 2, 3, 4, 5. So it really reminded me of Matchday 1 again. But yeah, I was really close to making the transfers. Then I was just like, you know what? If the deadline locks in again that early, then I don't really care. It might be a blessing in disguise for you. Hopefully it does go your way. Richard Minichip says, I panicked and confirmed my transfers. Oh well, no more tinkering then. Yeah, that's the good thing about it. Wait until Jackson starts. Yeah, but maybe he blanks and Joao Pedro scores off the bench. We saw Mbappe not start in Matchday 5 and he still scored. And he got more points than my Vinicius Jr., so you never know. It's refreshing to see Arda Güler being used properly. Ancelotti either benched or locked him to the touchline at right wing for 2 seasons. Yeah. Now look, Ancelotti did a lot of good things at Real Madrid, but players like Arda Güler definitely deserved better in terms of minutes and also the position he plays. And it's quite clear that his best position is in the midfield. Yes, I'm aware of what PTSD is, Mohammed. Thank you very much for the... or maybe you're explaining it to someone else, to be fair. But yeah, I was just putting it for that little meme. Thank you, Troy. I appreciate it. Open the app. It says 1 time. He just sold his soul to FIFA. And then go inside, it says another. Yeah, maybe the guy was right. I tried to get the thing up on my app. It's just ridiculous though. How have they not sorted that? No, on my app it does say 7 PM though. And I think it did throughout the last couple of days. So on my app it's all kind of consistent there. Trent or Garcia? I think if money is no issue, I'd go for Trent, but really close in terms of points scored, and I think Garcia offers great value. Yeah, I see that, Giuseppe, maybe. In my case, I haven't seen that, but that doesn't mean that's the definitive truth and that FIFA should be praised. We all know what happened in Matchday 1. My app says 7 PM in Madrid. Before you click on the playing thing, then click on it, and it says 8 PM. Yeah, once again, like I mentioned earlier, we saw that back in Matchday 1. Good night, Baraf. Hello, Omara. Hermano, tu español es muy bueno. Al final meterás a Joao Pedro. Creo que sí, pero en este momento no estoy cometido a estas transferencias porque también estoy pensando en Mbappé y está el Nicholas Jackson y hay otras transferencias que pueden estar afectadas por el delantero que compro. Así que si yo compro Kylian Mbappé, tengo que vender a Jude Bellingham y quizás por un -3 y eso no es algo que me gusta mucho. Mbappé or Dembele? Probably Mbappé. Really close though. Pedro as a super sub, especially if match goes extra time. Yeah, I think so. And he's also a great penalty taker, even though Parma should still be on the penalties. Samuel Javier or Chelsea defender. I'd lean towards the Chelsea defender. Yeah, the deadline is still working, as far as I'm aware. I did go on another tab and it said that transfers aren't locked in yet, but you never know with this bloody game. So yeah. Either way, just in case, I'd say in the next 50 minutes, even less, I'd say next 45 minutes, lock in your teams. Don't leave anything to chance with this game. This game? Yeah, this game. Let's see if we get any Chelsea leaks or lineups. I'm going to have a look myself. I do apologize to those that maybe locked in transfers early and panicked because of that comment. I think it is a known issue that a lot of people are experiencing of different times on the app compared to the website. So I highlighted it just in case. I almost made the transfers myself. I'll be doing them anyway very soon. So it only affects it by 20-30 minutes. Gives me a bit of a chance to kind of think about it a little bit more. So yeah, let me put this poll out. So how do I make this as concise as possible? Why the hell is it on this, by the way? What the hell is wrong with my... It's Chelsea against the world. What the hell is showing on my screen right now? Oh, okay. That's a bit weird. Oh, okay. I was on the wrong tab. Sorry about that. But yeah, my technology is bugging out a little bit, which isn't great. So yeah, we'll get to your question shortly, but literally the chat is kind of frozen on my end. I might need to refresh the page as well. But yeah, once it's sorted, I will be going back to your questions and also making the poll, which was what I wanted to do as well. Okay, I think it's working now. Yeah, maybe I'm bugging out at the moment. Okay, let's see. Anything on Chelsea? No, I don't think so. Okay, I'll keep an eye on that again later. As always, drop a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share this video around. It does go a long way to helping the channel. And very soon, FPL content will return. In August and September, the Champions League will also make its return on this channel. Let me make this poll. Let's see if I can finally get this done. Jesus, what the hell is happening right now? That should help a little bit. Okay. Transfer section. So yeah, Joao Pedro, let's put him in there. I would also have... Yeah, Bellingham. Okay, Bellingham. Here I would have Mbappe and let's say Arias, maybe. The other one could be... Let's see. I think it'd still be Mbappe, to be honest, but maybe Mbappe and Enzo Fernandez. Let's actually try that out as well. What the hell's wrong with this? Yeah, I'm sorry, but yeah, my technology is kind of bugging out at the moment. It's kind of rare for this to happen for so long. So, yeah, instead of Joao Pedro, let's see. So with Mbappe, and then... The hell? Mbappe, Bellingham out. Let's put Enzo. I could still get him, actually. 0.6 in the bank. Okay, that could work. Okay, I think it's probably worth having these in different tabs as well, so we can compare them side by side. And I also have everything set up in case I make a late change with my transfers, which I love to do. So forward line Mbappe. Let's go for Arias here instead. So this will be quite similar, to be honest. Pedro Neto, Stanisic, Samuel Javier, and then Colwill out for, let's put Gusto for now. It could easily be Chalobah instead. Well, why not both? Why not both? Yeah, okay, so that'll be 0. Oh yeah, -3. This would be a -3 as well. Okay, and that gets me to 14 players. The other one would be the João Pedro route. I think that's probably worth saying. Okay. So let's put João Pedro in here. Then Elise out. Yeah, Pedro Neto again. Stanisic. Svensson. I mean, some people would argue, why not just sell Sommer instead and keep Colwill? That's something else I could entertain. So let's put Samuel Javier in here. I'm also going to put Gusto and then Robert Sanchez in goal. And that would be 5 free transfers as well. Okay. So with this one, João Pedro and Bellingham, I would also have Robert Sanchez. So free transfers, can I put that? So Mbappe, Arias, and then this would be... Yeah, it's kind of difficult to condense this and make it really clear in the poll, but yeah. When I say 14 players, here I'm going to put 14 players -3 hit. And then here as well, 14 players -3 hit. Okay, I think that's probably how it looks like then. Yeah, that looks good. Free. Yeah, something like that. I'm very OCD, by the way, when it comes to this sort of thing. Okay, that looks good. So yeah, these are the options. Hopefully that is clear. So the first option will be this one, the João Pedro, Bellingham, yada, yada, yada. So let me put this poll out. And let's read some comments. It has been a while. Sorry about the issues with the technology. Bombaclat, yeah, you're a little Jamaican, Dylan. I am. No, I just like saying the words. They're quite funny. But yeah, I'm not Jamaican, unfortunately. No Jamaican in me. Best time to use the best captainship. Matchday 7 for me. Can be used well now, but yeah, if you've got that and the qualification booster, I'd be using the qualification booster all day long. Robert and Rudy says Mbappe. Fair enough. I don't think Gonzalo Ramos will start. It should be Dembele, Doué, and Kvaratskhelia. You could see Barcola start once more, but I don't think Gonzalo Ramos will. Top 3 forwards to have now. Mbappe. I'd say Gonzalo Garcia and João Pedro. Courtois and Gusto versus Donnarumma and Trent. Courtois and Gusto for me. I know that Cole was suspended. I've been very consistent on that. I've cannot panic bought Garcia, who to get now Mbappe, Vinicius, or João Pedro for Garassi. I'd go for Mbappe. Club World Cup stream final will be a nightmare for you, especially the time zone. Actually, haven't checked yet. We'll talk about that maybe closer to the time, but the plan is still to go live for that. Yeah, cheers to Napstars for gifting 5 memberships. So Alex, Let's Talk Vinyl, Eric Garcia, Kev Mac, and Michael Blackburn. I think some of you have been gifted memberships before. Enjoy them once again, and you'll have early access to my content, priority reply to comments, and much more. Let's see if there were any comments from members. I think we're all up to date with member stuff, so that's good. Yeah, no chance of wasting. You might be the second or third biggest club in London, but not first. Yeah, exactly. Cheers to Napstars. I will need to take a hit to have a full 13 outfield players in my team. Is it worth not taking a hit, keeping Marcus Leonardo in my team, and then I have more funds for the rest of my team? Yeah, I mean, it's a close one because we don't have many forwards to choose from, but they're still capable of big returns, whether it's Vinicius, Garcia, Mbappe, Joao Pedro. So it really depends on the striker in question. If it's Mbappe, I'd take the hit. Otherwise, I'd probably keep what you have. Yeah, luckily the deadline is here. I say luckily, it's when the deadline should be, according to that app and the website. Maximum captain debate, semis versus finals. Well, yeah, the thing is, my main argument is that in the semi-finals, you've got 2 shots at the captaincy. You can captain someone from today between Chelsea and Fluminense, and the second option will be between PSG and Real Madrid. For the final, you get 1 shot. So I just think for a lot of people, you will gain more points by using the maximum captain in Matchday 7. It doesn't always work that way, though, because guess what? In Matchday 1, I somehow got 0 points from my captain, and I would have gained 19 points from the max captain chip through Elise. So it can go for you or against you at times, but I think logically it does make sense to use it in the final. I don't think restarts. That's just my personal opinion. Hi, the 12th man is better to use in defense, midfielder, or forward. I'd say midfield or forward. Now, Hakimi is kind of an exception to that rule, but against Real Madrid, I don't think he will keep a clean sheet. Maybe gets an attack in return, but I think he won't get a double-digit haul, to be honest with you. Match predictions, I'd say Chelsea 2, Fluminense 0. PSG Real Madrid, I'm going to go for maybe a 3-2? Yeah, maybe a 3-2 PSG, sorry. Yeah, I'm very conflicted on that game, but I'd say PSG just about. Bro, get Joao Pedro because he might make his debut start against his boyhood club. Oh, so he might not try. But the poll is actually quite interesting. So people are recommending not taking a hit, not going for Mbappe, and instead going for Joao Pedro and keeping Bellingham. Interesting. You prefer Garcia over Cano? Garcia might not start. Yeah, true, but Mbappe might not start either, and these players can still score off the bench. I also think Chelsea could keep a clean sheet. They're actually top of the clean sheet odds overall, with a 47% chance of keeping one. Joao Neves or Dembele, it's going to be Dembele for me. Jude Bellingham to Dembele for a hit. Close, I probably wouldn't though. Is it the right time to use the 12-man chip? I've been quite consistent saying that I'd use it as early as possible, so I prefer using it in Matchday 6 as opposed to 7. Garcia or Joao Pedro? It's close. I might lean towards Joao Pedro now. I'm going to go downhill from here. 4-2-4, but all chips played. Interesting. Yeah, all chips played, not great, but I think most of us just have one left in the max captain. Yeah, and Nkuku's fine. He's also another shout for me. I'll probably put a poll out in regards to Chelsea forwards soon. I'm surprised FIFA hasn't created a third place playoff. Yeah, they usually do with the World Cup. -3 hit for Sanchez and for Sommer, or just play Donnarumma and avoid the hit. Just play Donnarumma. I had the same debate last week, and in the end, keeping Donnarumma and just starting him was the best thing to do. Yeah, Napstar says I'm going for Hercules. He's been really doing the business in the last couple of matches, scoring crucial goals in the knockouts, so decent shout. Is it better to multiply 2 options to 4 or 1 to 2 for the numbers? I mean, the ceiling is higher in the semi-finals as opposed to the final, but the PSG Madrid game is still quite tough to call anyway. I mean, that's where the max captain could definitely help you. There's no right or wrong. I've said this all along, whether it's the 12th man or max captain chip. I just think, I've been quite set on it from the beginning, I think Matchday 7, the max captain looks the most appealing to me, and it kind of guarantees you points gained in the process. I mean, if I look at my UCL fantasy record, I've done really well in that game, but one thing that I kind of maybe haven't done well enough is picking the right captain for the final. I think, who did I captain between Madrid and Borussia Dortmund? I think I captained Bellingham, right? I think I might have captained Bellingham. I bought Carvajal, who obviously got like 14 points or something on the day. And that's where that sort of chip like the Maximum Captain can really help you. When someone you don't really expect comes to the fore and scores the winning goal or just gets a massive return. Kingsley Coman against PSG a few years ago. Napstar says 3-2. Yeah, PSG 3-2 is probably what I'm looking at as well. Yeah, Michael, the one to thank is Napstars. He gifted 5 memberships today. Not to mention the final might be more conservative. Yeah, that is true. That is true. But if you get like a 1-0 win and the Maximum Captain gets you the winning goal, then you do gain a few points that way. But the ceiling is lower as opposed to UCL Fantasy where you can get player of the match and those sort of points there. You can't do it in this game. So yeah, it's definitely a good debate, but I prefer using a Matchday 7. Hamadi says, is Gusto 100% starting? Not 100%, no, but I think he will. How far is the lineups? 20, 30 minutes, and there's no guarantee that both Chelsea and Fluminense will release them. I mentioned this earlier. In the previous deadline, Fluminense didn't release their lineup until 7 p.m. So that was at the deadline once it was already passed. But we did get the Al Hilal lineup only a few minutes prior. FIFA should have locked the Max Captain chip from the final, to be honest. Maybe. I mean, the thing is, though, when you have a chip, you don't want to limit people too much, and you've already got the qualification booster, which has to be used in the knockouts. The wildcard can't be used in Matchday 1 or 4, so if you then say, oh, yeah, the Max Captain can't be used in Matchday 7, it does limit you quite a lot, and it pushes you in a certain direction. Money is a problem, Courtois or Sanchez? Sanchez for me. I think João Pedro starts. It isn't a guarantee. Garcia and Palmer or Neto and Vinicius? Good question. I'm going to go for Palmer and Garcia. Enzo or Neto with a hit? Probably Pedro Neto. Best 3 defenders for Chelsea? Malo Gusto, Chalobah, and Cucurella. I think Cucurella is probably the best overall, to be fair. But if you want the scouting bonus, the other 2 will help a lot. Thank you to Paredes once more for gifting 10 memberships. So big up to all of you. So Carlo, Moman, Marcus L, Loriento Simeon, David DeVito, FPL Fieco, Sizwi, also Paolo, Lars, is that Wikidoo? Sorry, it's just my eyesight is terrible. So enjoy the memberships there. And yes, Moman, as you say, thanks to Paredes for the gifting of memberships. It's massively appreciated. I'm also going to highlight the Napstars one too. So yeah, big up to both Napstars and Paredes, who have gifted multiple memberships throughout the recent deadline streams. It's massively appreciated. So thank you very much. Yeah, I think Javier is going to play. Especially in the final of any big tournament, always playing at night. Oh yeah, but wait, what time are we talking about then? Damn, that's maybe not going to be too good. But yeah, in my case, I'm going to lock in my team fairly soon, actually. So I'm not going to make any dumb mistakes. Oh no, let me check. Wait, oh no, it's not that bad. The Club World Cup final is at 8 p.m. in the UK, 13th of July. That's basically just like today. It's just going to be a similar deadline sort of time. So yeah, nothing horrific. I was actually quite surprised when you said that. I thought it would have been like, what, 2, 3 a.m. based on what you said. Well, Jackson might not start, to be honest. I think whoever starts for Chelsea will be a good option on paper because they are the massive favourites of any of the 4 teams to go through to the final. I think PSG Madrid is more balanced, but yeah, Jackson, very hit or miss. I'd rather go for João Pedro or Nkunku, I think, at the moment, but maybe I'm thinking of it in the wrong way. Kvaratskhelia or Neves? I'm less keen on Kvaratskhelia, even though he's been a bit unfortunate at times. Obviously, the goal he scored against Seattle Sounders was very fortunate, actually, but yeah, against Bayern Munich, he forced a good save from Manuel Neuer. If money is no issue, I'd still go for Kvaratskhelia simply because he's more offensive. Best captains for the first and second semi-finals. I did cover this. So for the first game, it would be Cole Palmer. Second game, either Mbappe or Dembele, depending on who you're backing to win the game. They can allow multiple chips per match day. Yeah, true. I mean, that's a different way of doing it, especially compared to FPL, UCL Fantasy and all that. But yeah, there is obviously like, I think a lot of people would be opposed to that sort of thing. Not saying that it means it shouldn't happen ever, but yeah, 2 or 3 chips at the same time is a bit mad. Why go Fluminense defender, Chelsea strong favourites? Well, I know we get 6 free transfers to the final, but let's say Fluminense do win, and they've been very solid in this tournament, which is a good reason for investing in Samuel Javier. Not only does it give you funds by going for these cheaper options defensively to fund other moves, but it also gives you that sort of guaranteed option in the final. I've only got Herman Cano from Fluminense, so having Samuel Javier makes it 2. I don't think that's that bad. 2 out of 15 players from one team. You know, I think that's decent coverage overall for a team. I don't think that will go through to the final maybe, but they've still got a chance. Yeah, I think Samuel Javier is good. Yes, I've mentioned this a few times as well. Yep, Carlo, I also agree. Napstar says Joao Pedro or Herman Cano. I'd say Joao Pedro right now. It's not a guarantee he starts though. Yeah, Valentino, exactly. The final isn't that bad in terms of timing. I think they have catered to the European audience a lot to bolster up the views. Top 5 matchday strikers. Do we even have 5 players to begin with in that position? Mbappe, Joao Pedro, Vinicius, Gonzalo Garcia, and I'm going to say Nkuku. Yeah. Herman Cano would just be below them, I think. Third striker, Vinicius and Joao and Mbappe. Best defenders who are replaced at 60-70. Gusto could be one. Trent Alexander-Arnold. I don't think Hakimi would be here, but he has been subbed off early on occasion, and it does depend on game state. Another one would be Nuno Mendes, of course. But yeah, those are the options you're really looking at. But it can go against you at times, especially with Gusto, where he subbed off before 60, and you don't get any clean sheet points or the appearance point. It would be Pedro Neto for me as the best Chelsea midfielder besides Palmer. What about Nkuku, says Omar. Yeah, I just mentioned him as a top 5 forward. Maybe deserves more love, to be fair. Well, yeah, I think Joao Pedro looked fairly decent in matchday 5, and it's the fixture against Fluminense, who are a decent defence, but most of us would back Chelsea to win. With Madrid, PSG, I think our predictions might be a little bit more balanced overall. Enzo should be there. Well, you can't have them all, but basically, what you see here is one set of transfer plans. Then this will be the Enzo Fernandez route, also buying Mbappe, but it does mean a -3 hit if I also want 14 players, and Jan Sommer would be my only unavailable option. Then with this one, it's also -3 hit, very similar, but instead of Enzo Fernandez, I buy Arias, so basically it's the exact same. I have to say, though, because obviously someone did ask why go for a Fluminense defender. So in the first option, maybe you're right, you know. I've got 2.1 million in the bank. I could go for a different defender. So in this case, I could go for Chalobah, I think. Actually, that's the problem. If I buy Robert Sanchez in goal for Jan Sommer and also keep Levi Colwill, then I would have 6 Chelsea players already. So then I'd have to go for a PSG or Madrid player if you really don't want to go for that Fluminense defender. But I don't think it's a bad idea to have one option, you know, defensively from Fluminense and then one offensive option. I think that's a fairly decent strategy. But these 2 transfer plans you see is what I'll probably go for in the end. So yeah, either a -3 to sell Bellingham and fund Mbappe, or I will go for this one, make 3 transfers, get Joao Pedro up front or Nkuku, and then, yeah, go for one Fluminense defender in Samuel Javier. That will be the next poll, by the way. The best Chelsea forward to go for. And this poll is quite one-sided, actually. So most of you have voted for the free transfers route, which is Joao Pedro, keeping Bellingham, and all of that stuff. So I'm going to end that one. Thank you to those that voted. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, and check the links in the description for my social media platforms, like the Discord server, Club World Cup Fantasy League, my X, Instagram, Spotify, Blue Sky. There are so many platforms. I'm on most of them, and you can find me there very easily. Just type in Dylan RCM or FPL Dylan. So the next poll is going to be the Chelsea forward. Let's give Nkuku some love, maybe. So choose your favourite Chelsea forward. So let us put Jackson, Nkuku, and Joao Pedro. Well, what's your suggestions for the amount of players from each team? This is something I covered in my best wildcard team video. So from PSG and Real, I would kind of balance things out and have between 3 to 5 players from those squads. I do slightly prefer PSG. So I'd probably have Dembele in there, Hakimi, Donnarumma, a second PSG midfielder like Doué. You could even have Nuno Mendes, so that'd be 5. From Real Madrid, I'd be looking at mainly their forwards, so Mbappe and either Vinicius or Gonzalo Garcia. Arda Güler in the midfield, either Fran Garcia or Trent defensively. So that kind of gives you an insight into what I'm looking at. So 4 Madrid, 5 PSG, kind of roughly speaking. Then I'd go for 5 or 6 Chelsea players, and the rest would be Fluminense. That's kind of my take on it, but everyone has their own opinion. Garcia or Javier? I'd go for Samuel Javier. Best Chelsea mid except Palmer. Cover this, mate. Yeah, I don't know what you were doing when I answered it, but Pedro Neto. I got Neto, Enzo, Cucurella, and other Chelsea defender. Who to captain? From those options, it's probably going to be... I've gone for a 2-0 Chelsea win, to be fair, so I don't mind captaining Cucurella. And if you were to go for another Chelsea defender like Gusto or Chalobah, they do have less than 5% ownership, so a clean sheet would mean 9 points just for that alone. So I'm not against that either. Pedro Neto or Enzo, covered. I prefer Neto a little bit more. Is Reece James fit to start? I think so, but it is a risk based on what happened only a few days ago. Which Chelsea Pedro to captain? It's close, but I lean towards Joao Pedro, actually. Captain Gusto Cucurella. Yeah, that's what I just mentioned now with another question. Yeah, it's Palmer for me, though. You've got Palmer. He's my favourite overall. I could see him scoring, maybe getting an assist as well, but yeah, he could get 8 to 9 points quite comfortably, I think, in this game. Should I replace the lap for a -3? I have Mbappe and Garcia. Yeah, I think so, and you don't have to, by the way, but maybe taking an aggressive move for either Nkunku or Joao Pedro looks fairly decent. And by the way, Joao Pedro is absolutely just winning this by a landslide, 70% of votes overall. Jackson is second with a quarter of the votes, and Nkunku only has 5%, and he's touted to start, actually, as the second striker or attacking midfielder. I could have had a 4-15, but decided to upgrade Enzo to Bellingham over having a second goalkeeper. Yeah, I'm not so sure if it's an upgrade, in my opinion. I think for Matchday 6, I'd rather have Enzo, but that's just my personal take on it. Hopefully Bellingham does well for us. I'm kind of hoping for that, but yeah, I understand your kind of logic and your reasoning behind it. Michael Blackburn says, hi Dylan, would you buy Pedro Neto or Dembele? Probably Dembele, to be honest, but it's really close. I assume Joao Pedro is going to get mocked by the Brazilian defense. Let's wait and see. Chalobah or Garcia, says Napstars. Chalobah. I have Trent, Hakimi, Mendes, and Cucurella. Yeah, I think Chelsea have the best chance of a clean sheet. I've said 2-0. Could be 1-0 to be fair, but yeah, I think a clean sheet is possible. Yeah, Arda Güler, best Real Madrid midfielder in this tournament. Even in this game, from a deeper position, he can still do relatively well, so I'm on board. Thiago Silva, he doesn't qualify for scouting bonus. If you want that sort of thing, Ignacio would be good from Fluminense. And I also think Samuel Javier has the attacking potential. Jackson is on the bench 100%. Joao Pedro starts. Okay, thank you. I'll have a look now. And if I can get it on screen, I will do so. So let's see if Chelsea have put the lineup on Twitter. We've got 23 minutes until the deadline, supposedly. So let's be sure to lock things in due course. So yeah, I'm wondering who broke the news. Probably a Chelsea journalist then. Yeah, Kieran Hill. And obviously shout out to FPL Wali on Twitter, FPL Manual. He relayed the information. So let me get this up now on screen. So Joao Pedro starts for Chelsea, Jackson among the substitutes. Now, could Joao Pedro get less than 60 minutes? Absolutely, but yeah, I think that's going to increase the hype train for Joao Pedro. So yeah, that's interesting indeed. So I'll leave that on for a little bit longer. And then, yeah, let's go back to the goal scorer odds and stuff like that very quickly, just for those that aren't aware. I did read these out earlier in the stream. Clichy odds as well. Chelsea are winning by a landslide. The rest will be ownership figures, which will be different now because I think all of these figures are volatile, especially for those at 5% ownership or below. And by the way, when I was checking those segments and sections, all of them were basically from eliminated players, so it wasn't worth highlighting them again for the semi-finals and beyond. But yeah, hopefully these graphics do help you. I do appreciate those that tune into every single video and stuff. And the last thing is obviously the fixtures, and I'll recap on the suspended players and also the injuries. So obviously we know where we're at now in terms of the bracket. PSG are the favourites to win this competition. Real Madrid are second, Chelsea are third, and Fluminense are fourth. In terms of injuries, so Badiashile, I believe, is out for Chelsea. Fluminense have only one doubt in Samuel Javier. With suspensions, both Chelsea and Fluminense have two. So Delap and Cole will miss out today. The same goes for Freitas and Martinelli. For Paris Saint-Germain, Bacho and Lucas Hernandez picked up red cards against Bayern Munich, and Dean Howson also got red carded against Borussia Dortmund. So those players will miss Matchday 6. I believe Dean Howson will be available for a potential final if Madrid make it there. I think with the case of Bacho and Hernandez, they would be out. As a result, it was kind of like violent conduct and, you know, an aggressive challenge, so to speak, from both of them. I think in the case of Hernandez, more of an elbow, of course, a very weird one from him. But there you go. That is pretty much it. And now it's worth going to my team again. So let's do that very quickly. And I think it comes down to this now. Option A, with Joao Pedro, keeping Bellingham, no hits. Or the second option, buying Mbappe, doing something like Bellingham to Enzo Fernandez, and also taking a -3 hit if I want 14 players. I could just keep that as 13 and then have someone like Stanisic there, but look at that. It means I'm 0.1 million over budget. So I do need that sort of cheaper option as well, which is a bit of a shame. And of course, that would mean 3 Chelsea midfielders, 2 from PSG. Maybe not the most balanced overall, to be fair. I think this one looks a little bit more balanced overall. Yeah, I do like the look of this, and a lot of you do as well. I'm going to put one final poll in regards to my transfer plans, and also it's a way of you finding out what I'm actually looking to do. So I think it comes down to either selling Sanchez or selling Sommer to get Sanchez, or Levi Colwill. So that's what it comes down to for me. And we are close to 150 likes. Let's be sure to get to that very soon. Thank you to those that are tuning in. And once that Chelsea lineup is out, I'll be reading it out to you. And there's also the Fluminense one that we want to keep an eye on, but I think theirs will be released in 20 minutes' time past the deadline. So let's put this poll as well. And I'm going to read out the member questions first, so just stay tuned for a little bit. Germán Cano starts, okay? Thank you. Let me know where you got that from, but I haven't seen anything from Fluminense yet. Okay, let's see. Lineups are on Flash Score. It looks like Flash Score always gets these Club or Cup lineups very early, so let me check. Where is the lineup? Oh, here. And this is confirmed, yeah? Okay. Okay, interesting. Let me just try and verify that and double check, but yeah, it looks like Flash Score has been clutch in this tournament. Okay, let's read this out very quickly. So, allegedly, Fluminense will go for Fabio, Arias, Bernal, Germán Cano, Guga, Hercules, Ignacio, Nonato, Rene, Thiago Santos, and Thiago Silva, whilst Chelsea will go for Robert Sanchez, Tosin Adarabioyo, Caicedo, who is back from suspension, Chalobah, Cucurella, Enzo Fernandez, Gusto, Joao Pedro, Pedro Neto, Nkuku, and Cole Palmer. So on the bench, Reece James is there. The same goes for Nicholas Jackson. And for Fluminense, you've got Ganobio, Everaldo, Fuentes, Silva, Keno, La Vega, Lescano, Lima, Manuel, Paulo Baya, Ganso. Samuel Javier is on the bench. Wow. According to this, if it's confirmed, then fair enough. That's interesting. Soltedo, the Venezuelan, and then Vitor Guedes. Did I say Serna? Well, there you go. He's also on that list as well. For Chelsea, you've got Andre Santos. You've got an Argentine there. I actually forgot that he was at the club. Dewsbury Hall, Tyreek George, Mark Guiu, Jackson, Reece James, Jorgensen, Madueke. Is he Arsenal bound? We'll find out. Sarr, Sionia, Pendera, and the other one I didn't read out is Achampong. Ping pong. I don't know. But there you go. Those are the lineups. Interesting that Samuel Javier is on the bench. If this is correct, that is very interesting indeed. So maybe time to go back to the drawing board here and replace Samuel Javier with somebody else. Unfortunately, I can't buy Robert Sanchez. Yeah, so that might actually require me to sell Cole instead. Okay. Let's put the final poll out of the stream. And yeah, SofaScore have now confirmed it as well. So yeah, Samuel Javier is on the bench. That is the big news here. So he is available. He obviously got that injury in Matchday 5, but he's not ready to start, it looks like. So yeah, Flash Score were correct. Thank you to those that pointed me in the right direction. So now it's all about locking things in. We've still got plenty of time, but time does fly, especially during a deadline stream. So I'm going to focus on this first in terms of locking in my team, and then I'll be answering your questions as always. So thank you to those that have been patient. I will be there very shortly, but let's see now. The panic transfers made me not go Gusto, risk of James. That sucked. Well, the thing is, though, Gusto could still be subbed off before 60 minutes, though. Yeah, exactly that, Moman. Thank you very much. They are the confirmed lineups, at least with Chelsea. Yeah. Herman Cano is starting, King Shaz. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is starting. I did read his name out. What I'll do is also close those applications. But yeah, I have read out the lineups already a few times. Just to confirm, yes, Mancano is starting alongside Arias, as expected. The only kind of surprise for Fluminense is Samuel Javier. Alright, let me end this poll. Joao Pedro is winning by a landslide. Jackson is still second despite being on the bench. And Nkuku is in the lineup, but not up front. Okay, so yeah, I agree, Storm. I want to take a hit for Donnarumma. To be honest with goalkeepers, if you got one, just start them. Even if it's Fabio or Courtois, just start them and not take any hits, even for a second option. So this would be Sommer to Sanchez. Sommer to Sanchez. But then it would mean... I mean, I could go for Ignacio, to be fair. Yeah, I'll cover them with a differential defender. It's not a big deal. And then... Ignacio. The other one would be... Let's see. My captain will likely be Palmer, as I mentioned before. I agree, Godson. I think Mbappe will start. Luckily, I went for Thiago Silva over Javier. That's a good thing. That worked quite well for you. I'll probably just go for a differential defender from Fluminense, but I'm not really backing them overall. Yeah, the Fluminense wing-backs are both under 5% owned, exactly, because everyone was kind of accustomed to Samuel Javier, and also you had Freites, he is a centre-back, but he's been getting, a few goal contributions in this tournament. So Sanchez plus Ignacio. The other one would be... So keep... Jesus, how do I even express this? So keep Colwill and then Sanchez and Ignacio. The other one is sell Colwill and keep Sommer. That's pretty much what it comes down to. It's not really that much of a thing. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Okay, let's whiz through the questions from the members. I know you've been waiting patiently. But yeah, thank you, Richard, as well. Yeah, BBC have also reported it. That's all double, triple, quadruple confirmed. Well, Reece James, he's on the bench anyway. He might make a cameo, but he's just not worth the investment. Not right now, anyway. I'm just going to play Donnarumma rather than taking a hit for Sommer. Yeah, I think that's the right thing to do. I mean, in my case, because I've got Levi Colwill already, who could be useful for Matchday 7, it might be best for me to just buy Robert Sanchez, have another goalkeeper option, but then be down to, 12 outfield players instead of the full 13, but still not too bad overall. Yep, Samuel Javier is on the bench, as reported earlier. Let's see what else we've missed. With the Joao Pedro start, now captaincy is a serious doubt. I think I'll still go for Cole Palmer, to be fair, but Joao Pedro is a decent alternative. The same goes for Pedro Neto and Enzo Fernandez. Don't even discount the defenders. I mean, I'm kind of backing Chelsea to win and maybe keep a clean sheet, so Cucurella, a differential defender like Gusto could all be worth it. I had to go Keno instead of Cano because I have both Mbappe and Vinny. Still, though, you are in a unique position. Not that many people will have those two premiums in their forward line, and I wish I could do that myself. The only way to do it really is to take a -3 or be down to 12/13 players, which I'm not sure is worth it in my case. No worries, says we, but I think Napstars and Paredes, they were the ones who gifted memberships, not me. Maria says, is 12-man just picking a player from your team? Seems a poor option when I probably have 10 to 12 players starting at best. No, you pick someone who isn't in your squad. So if you got, let's say, Vinicius, you've got Bellingham, you've got Dembele, but you don't have Mbappe, that is your way of including Mbappe in your squad. But you can't captain the player who's your 12th man, you can't sub him out or make a transfer. Woven Cuckoo for Delap, get the balloons out. Yeah, not too shabby. Could have been worse, right? Let's see, though, how they end up doing in terms of points. Kvaratskhelia or Dembele, I would go for Ousmane Dembele. Gusto is a risk for the final because James is back. True, you are right. But then what about if I go for, let's say, Chalobah and Tosin Adarabioyo? Because Colwill will be back by that stage as well. I mean, you could just say, well, you got Colwill, so that kind of compensates for it anyway. And ultimately, I wouldn't worry too much about having 11 players for Matchday 7 because we get 6 free transfers for the Club World Cup final. And it's quite easy, I think, to build that starting 11. You can't make subs or change the captaincy, so you don't need 12 or more for Matchday 7 there. Who has more upside, keeper or defender? As to answer your doubt, well, defenders have a higher upside, generally speaking. But, yeah, it's a difficult... I mean, maybe on the face of it, the way I've phrased it in the poll, it does seem quite obvious that keeping Colwill and getting Sanchez and Ignacio is probably the best way to go, to be fair. But, yeah, I think from your perspective, the way you framed it makes a lot of sense as well. Captain Palmer or Joao Pedro? Like I just said, probably Palmer for me. Max captain now or final? I'd say final. Keno is on the bench, says Abby Johnson. I would 12-man Dembele, John Mayer. Pedro more than 5%? Yeah, I'm not surprised. He has skyrocketed recently. Why Ignacio over Rene? I don't know. They're both differentials. I mean, there's not really any particular reason. In terms of attacking threat, maybe Rene has a little bit more, but I don't think the difference is that big. But if I look at Rene's recent returns, he's got 2 yellow cards in the last 2 games. His last goal was back in April. Yeah, I'm just not so sure, to be honest. I mean, it could be Rene. It could be the other wing back there for Fluminense. But yeah, it's not really that appealing overall. Te digo la verdad, Abel, no sé si Gonzalo García va a jugar. En mi opinión, creo que va a empezar el partido porque está anotando tantos goles y sería un poquito injusto si va al banco, pero también Mbappé es un jugador de tanta calidad y en un partido así contra el Paris Saint-Germain necesitas tus mejores jugadores, así que hay una posibilidad que ambos juegan juntos y Vinicius Jr. va al banco, pero creo que es menos probable. Así que es difícil, pero yo creo que Gonzalo García va a empezar el partido. Neto or Arias? Neto. Yeah, Neto for me. Like I just said before, probably Palmer. Palmer's my favourite captain, but yeah, it's time to lock in. If you do get a system error, don't worry about it. Just retry. Make sure the transfers go through, and then you still have time before kickoff to sort out your bench. Make sure your Chelsea and Fluminense players are starting, but something that you can't reverse once the deadline locks is your transfer. So make sure they go through now in the next few minutes. So yeah, I think I'm going to go for this, but now it's just about the Fluminense defender. Maybe I'll go for for Ignacio. Maybe I'll go for Rene or a different option there as well. Interesting times are ahead here. Let's see if the other fullback maybe offers a bit more attacking potential. Yeah, not really, to be honest. Probably after all this is going to be Thiago Silva or just one of their centre-backs doing the business. I mean, who knows? It's a lottery, like, if one of those defenders gets a goal contribution, but yeah, time to lock him. Can't decide with the max captain. Yeah, I know, it does seem like you probably are leaning towards the semi-final one. Back your gut on it, but yeah, for me, it's going to be in Matchday 7. I would use the 12th man now, Aaron. Yeah, Chalobah's fine. He might not start the final, though, if Chelsea reach that stage, because Colwell would be back, and yeah, you've also got Tosin Adarabioyo there as well. Demantis says, Hola, is it worth taking a -3 to take Garassi out for a Chelsea forward? I'd say so. I mean, you don't have to do it, but I'd say it's worth a punt. I just sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger for a second. Don't know why. It's probably just my voice. 4 players today, 9 tomorrow. Wow. Yeah, my balance will be slightly different, to be fair. So I would have 5 Chelsea. I don't count Colwell because he's suspended. And I would have 2 Fluminense. So 7 from today, 8 for tomorrow. Not a bad balance, but ultimately it's about how they score in the end, and maybe you end up getting the really good Matchday 6 performance, to be fair. But yeah, I'm going to lock in, I think. Ignacio, what's his ownership now? 0.9%. Let's check the other Fluminense defenders. Rene has 1.4%. Let's see. I mean, is he really worth it? I'm actually not even sure with these lot. Rene, Ignacio. I mean, the thing is, Samuel Javier is on the bench, so we could see an early substitution for the wingbacks. I mean, that's something also worth mentioning. That could go in your favour, but maybe go against you at the same time. Just depends on if they get to the 60-minute mark, if they're still keeping a clean sheet and all that stuff. But yeah, we're about to lock in, so be sure to do so. Don't do what I'm doing, even though in the next minute or so I will be having it all done and dusted. But yeah, I'm going to stick with this. Let's see how it goes. Ignacio coming in. I do like Gusto and also Chalobah, to be honest with you. That would be one of my slight regrets, maybe, not getting Chalobah, but yeah. It is what it is. Could also go for Fabio. Yeah, Fabio as my other goalkeeper, and then go for Chalobah. I'm just saying, but yeah, that's kind of my big deliberation now. It's not even worth. Yeah, don't overthink that. I know, but guess what? I just love overthinking in these games. I'm just gonna do it. So there we go. 5 transfers. João Pedro, Pedro Neto, Ignacio, Gusto, and Sanchez. So I'm going really heavy on today's game, actually. Let's confirm these transfers. We are locked. João Pedro is my captain. I'm probably going to change that, and that probably means he's going to do well now. But yeah, let's vice captain. Oh yeah, Gusto in the starting 11 would be nice. Even though it doesn't matter. If you don't do it in time, you still got plenty of opportunities. Robert Sanchez as well. Yes, that'd be nice. Okay. It's not a big deal, don't worry. I can still do it before the kickoff, so I'm not really that bothered. The transfers was the most important thing. Yeah, look, it actually just went through. It's just a system error. Might just be a visual glitch as well. So my final team is Robert Sanchez in goal. I mean, Levi Colwill can fuck off because he's not playing anyway. So we'll just put Vinicius Jr. in there. Yeah. So yeah, Sanchez in goal, Hakimi, Ignacio, Gusto, Doué, Kvaratskhelia, Pedro Neto, Palmer. A front line of Vinicius, Caramancano, and João Pedro. I could also vice-captain Vinicius, even though it doesn't really matter. Bench, I've got Donnarumma, Fran Garcia, Bellingham, and the suspended Colwill. So I've got 14 players. I've made 3 transfers. I've also got 2.2 million in the bank now. Thank you, Paredes, for being a member for 3 months. System error, yeah, that is a great way of summing this game up. Can't believe I ended up with 5 Chelsea players. It can work out, of course, but now too many eggs are in that basket. Yeah, but if they do win and keep the clean sheet, then it will go your way. I mean, from my perspective, I've got 3 Chelsea attackers and only 2 defensively. I think if I had a wild card or something recently, I would have had probably 3 Chelsea defensive coverage. Sanchez in goal, Chalobah, and then Gusto. But there you go. I've made my bed. We're locked in. We'll see how it ends up going. 12th man, Vinicius or Kvaratskhelia. Between those two, it's close, but I would favour Vinicius. Overall, though, I think Dembele and Mbappe are the best options. Thank you for gifting fan memberships, mate. I appreciate Paredes. So big up as well to Vicky, to Mr. Scuffy Misses a Lot, to OG, to Caroline, and to Daniel Fox. Enjoy the membership for an entire month. I went max captain for this match day. Game's a bit unpredictable. That makes sense. I mean, I don't think it's a wrong time to use it. I'm just going to save it for the final where it could be something I don't expect. Like, I might end up captaining, let's say, Dembele in a final or Mbappe, and it ends up being someone you don't expect producing the most points. Pedro or Gusto, captain. From those two, I'm going to say Gusto because of the scouting bonus. Very close, though. René Lock, captain. Good luck. I might regret not going for him in the end, but it is what it is. Gusto stayed just below 5%. Nice. Yeah, was it 4.2% ownership? Let me also check this. Let me refresh this as well. But yeah, just for those that aren't aware, we are locked in completely. So yeah, we are now approaching the final stages of this competition. If you have anyone on the bench from Chelsea or Fluminense, don't worry, you still have 58 minutes to make those subs and captain a Chelsea or Fluminense player. So make sure you do that. It didn't save my vice captain, even though it's not that important. But yeah, let's put Vinicius vice captain. But yeah, I've got a decent squad depth overall. No Dembele or Mbappe. I'm a bit worried about that, to be honest. But you can't have them all, unfortunately. If I go to... Well, what am I doing? Yeah, for this one, let's go to the final. So... Interesting. Let's check the ownership figures of these players. So Gusto, 4.7%. Yeah, he qualifies for the scouting bonus. What is Chalobah? Only 2%. Ooh, I like that. Ignacio, 1%, 1.1. Okay. Rene, 1.5, 1.8. Okay. 0.2 there. Okay, so those are the ownership figures for some of these differential defenders. Not too shabby. So even if you're on your way out, be sure to like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Yeah, it's good, Roberto, right? Otherwise, it would have kind of taken away the appeal a little bit. Missed the deadline again. You're not the only one, Goldhead. Paredes says, I saved Max Captain for the final, so I have someone to blame. I mean, I got the impression that you wanted to use it in the semi-finals anyway, so I am surprised you haven't done it. I have no Chelsea defensive coverage. I think Fluminense score. I hope so, even though it doesn't benefit me Club World Cup fantasy-wise, unless Herman Cano is the one scoring, or Ignacio, which would be massive. Thank you, Jeff Jabber. Massively appreciated. I think Chelsea have a good chance of winning. It's not like 80 or 90%. I'd say 60, maybe close to 70. Women Fantasy Euro is more relaxed for me, especially because of free prizes, no money spent, transfers as always. Yeah, I haven't played it, but I've seen a lot of high scores flying around. Why Pedro? Because he's starting, he's playing up front for Chelsea, and I think Chelsea will get the win. Vice Captain Joao Pedro in case he goes crazy. Oh yeah, that is a good point. That is a good point. And then I can captain Colwill. Actually, but then... Oh yeah, that is a good point. Okay, so really good way of looking at it. Let me refresh this. So one tactic you can do, which might seem very scummy. If you're unsure about Palmer or Joao Pedro, who do you captain? Maybe just captain Palmer, vice captain Joao Pedro. And if you got someone like Colwill or Sommer, an eliminated or suspended player, you can have them... Actually, no. I mean, look, you still could basically assure yourself of the points. Basically, your captain will turn into your vice, so you can have Joao Pedro turn into double points there as your captain, but automatic subs won't take place. You can't have both of them happen at the same time, so you will be down a player. If you're prepared to do that, if Joao Pedro goes off and scores a hat-trick, that could be a decent tactic, actually, for the Club World Cup. If FIFA employ a similar strategy next year for the World Cup, something worth looking at maybe as well, but yeah, you will be down one player in the process. It's worth mentioning that, but I might do it. If Joao Pedro scores 2 or 3 goals, maybe I'll just bring in Colwill, settle for the 0-pointer there, and go down to 10 players in my starting 11, but also get Joao Pedro double points and a great captaincy score guaranteed. Which booster to use this game week? Well, the deadline is gone. I would have used the qualification booster as early as possible. That's my recommendation with it. 12th man as well. With the 12th man, sorry, the maximum captain, I'd use it in Matchday 7. I picked Cano. Let's see what happens. Hopefully he does well. He was quite disappointing and pretty poor, actually, last week. Mine hasn't logged in yet. Well, if you refresh the page, it should have done. Did Trent not come across your mind, or just money issues? I just don't think Madrid keep a clean sheet against PSG. I'd rather focus on Chelsea. I had no defensive coverage from them, really. So that was my priority. Joao Pedro is starting, that's why I bought him. If Fluminense and Real Madrid advance, I'm screwed. Well, yeah. That's the kind of issue sometimes if you go all in on certain teams and it doesn't pay off. But conversely, if you do get the finalists you want, you'd be in a great position. You don't even need to use the 6 free transfers, and you might get a lot of transfers, or sorry, a lot of points in the process for Matchday 6. I think Joao Pedro is a good captaincy punt for rank chasers. Yeah. Unfortunately, he doesn't qualify for the scouting bonus anymore, but any returns he does get will help you in your mini leagues and the rankings. Yeah, Chalobah captain, I do like him. That might be one of my slight regrets of Matchday 6. Used the wildcard in the semis, now 12th man for the final. Interesting. I would have probably used the 12th man now in Matchday. Well, actually, to be fair, you're using the wildcard anyway. Fair enough. But yeah, I'd have said wildcard Matchday 5, 12th man Matchday 6. Vinicius is expected to earn more points than Mbappe. No, is the simple answer to that. Juniper says done another -6. I was tempted by the -3, but in the end, I've just stuck with 5 free transfers. That vice captain trick doesn't work. Oh yeah, because the vice captain turning into the captain only happens with automatic subs taking place. Yeah, that is true. That would only happen Well, yeah, you could still do it, but it basically means you can't make subs and you're down to 10 players. So it's maybe then it becomes 11, but is it really worth it? Maybe not. But yeah, it would work actually with automatic subs, maybe not with manual subs, of course. Pedro Neto will score goals as my captain. Hopefully. Pretty sure once you make any manual changes, yeah, you are correct, which is something I've covered in my how to play guide. But if you don't make any changes and you've got, let's say you're quite bullish on Fran Garcia not keeping a clean sheet and blanking, Donnarumma, and we'll name one more player, maybe Kvaratskhelia. Just leave him on the bench. You can have one of them come on anyway for Levi Colwill, Captain Palmer, Vice Captain Pedro, and if you do get that massive captaincy score from your Vice, you could approach Matchday 6 that way. So you've got different ways of approaching it. I'm probably not going to do that, to be honest. I'll just captain players myself and hope for the best. Okay, no worries, mate. Calm down. I was quite consistent on this. I was asked very similar questions. Palmer's my favourite captain. I could have done that scummy trick in Game Week 1. My Vice, Elise, got 19 points. Yeah, don't remind me. I wish I used the maximum captain chip back then. If your main captain plays, it won't switch though. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the mids. I'm going to use that as an excuse. Can you bring Colwill on after the match? No, not after the match. No, that wouldn't work. You'd have to have him in the starting 11 from the beginning. And yeah, it really only works with the captain not featuring at all, to be honest. But yeah, that's where I'm not even sure why the vice captaincy exists, to be honest. I mean, in Use Your Fantasy, you just have a captain, and that's it. With this sort of fantasy game, I don't think it makes much sense to have a vice in the first place. Joao Pedro is 8.2% anyway, so if he scores huge points, it's a great game. Yeah, which I also mentioned before. Richard Millichip says, hey Dylan, you can check ownership percentage for your entire squad if you click on the final transfers open. Yeah, I am aware of that, but I just wanted to go to the transfer screen. Yeah, I think in terms of differentials, though, I've only got Gusto, Ignacio, and that's about it. The rest don't qualify for scouting bonus, but it's not the end of the world. If I were to do that now, refresh the bloody page, you will see the kind of rough ownership figures at the moment. Sanchez, 19%. Hakimi's just really template. Ignacio, 1.1. Gusto, 4.7. But the rest is not really of much interest. Cano went over 5% last match day. Joao Pedro, obviously, in the last hour, has been getting a lot of love. So maybe Nkuku might be the differential hero of matchday 6. Hakimi, the best African right-back of all time. I'm not so sure. I don't really have the knowledge of African football to comment on that. I mean, I like Lauren a lot from Arsenal. He's a really solid right-back. I think defensively he's better than Hakimi, but obviously Achraf Hakimi has the attacking potential, and he's been doing it in big games. Yeah, I'm not so sure, to be honest. Maybe he's up there. Went with 6 transfers, -3. Beraldo, Mendes, Chalobah, Gusto, Dembele, and Joao Pedro. Looks good. I like that. Dembele, yeah, I think he's worth the -3, to be fair. Captain Joao Pedro or Cano? Joao Pedro for me. But to be fair, yeah, you mentioned defenders. They are also a consideration. I think any fantasy games need some chips for vice-captain that's not involving replacing the captain. Yeah, it gives them a bit more purpose. So I get your kind of thinking there, but I just don't think it should exist in Club World Cup Fantasy. I've got Donnarumma, Gusto, Cucurella, Trent, Garcia, Hakimi, Neto, Palmer, Bellingham, Kvaratskhelia, Doué, Cano, Mbappe, and Garcia. Thoughts? I was going to go Fluminense, but a couple of defensive guys out-worried me. Yeah, similar situation to Palmeiras, who missed Piquerez at the time, and also Gustavo Gomez. It could be a repeat of that quarter-final there for Chelsea, where they end up winning, getting the job done, and they've got a massive advantage in terms of those massive injury blows to the opposition team. Samuel Javier isn't completely out, but he is on the bench, of course. Yeah, this game doesn't need a vice-captain. I guess it helps less engaged managers who might forget about their team. Yeah, exactly that. I think that's the main reason why it exists in the first place. Captaining Joao Pedro does not provide any advantage. Well, yes, because his ownership is still low enough that if he does return, it will give you a massive rank rise as opposed to Palmer, who's more template, but I'm backing Palmer a little bit more. I'm probably going to stick to him. Not a guarantee, but it's very likely. Bacon Buddy says vice-captain kind of only exists for like a Reece James situation where a player who's meant to start doesn't end up starting, and you don't realise before the match actually starts. Yeah, from that perspective, I get it, but you still lose that captaincy opportunity for that game, unless, as you mentioned, you maybe captain Reece James and vice-captain Palmer, but it also means you can't make substitutions anyway, and all that stuff, which I recommend to everyone who plays this game. I put Neto captain, not a bad shout at all. Last match day, forgot to activate the wild card and went for a -21. Yeah, that's going to sting quite a lot, actually, especially in such a short fantasy game like this one. My rank is 61k, so I'm captaining Joao Pedro. Yeah, that's fair enough. If you're not happy with your rank, I think going for that sort of lower-owned player as your captain is a way of increasing your chances to rise up those mini leagues and the rankings quicker. If I captain a defender, is it better to go Cucurella or Gusto? I'd probably go for Gusto, even though Cucurella usually has more attacking threat. He bombs into those attacking positions, getting into the box. But yeah, I think Gusto with the qualification, the scouting bonus, he has 4.7% ownership. I think that is the way to go, actually. So yeah, I'd say Gusto. -21, yeah, it's crazy. I've done something similar in FPL, I think -24 once, but that was a few years ago. So thank you to everyone for tuning in. It has been a blast talking to you for the past couple of hours. I'm kind of surprised my voice has withstood all of this. I'm going to give it a little break, and very soon I'll be recording content for Matchday 7, the best wildcard team for Matchday 7, aka just the best Club World Cup final squad. I'll also be doing my team selection with 6 free transfers at my disposal, and we can now pick up to 8 players from the same club. And after that, the deadline stream, just 2 hours before kickoff on the 13th of July, will be the final piece of content for Club World Cup Fantasy. If you have enjoyed this tournament and the way I've covered it, then like this video, subscribe to the channel, and also hit that notification bell so you're always up to date with my content for Club World Cup Fantasy, FPL, and the Champions League. Follow me on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM. You can also find me by typing FPL Dylan, and check all the other links in the description for my Patreon and the Championships, further links to my videos, amongst many other perks. The Discord server, Club World Cup Fantasy League, and Spotify can also be found in the description. After the Club World Cup stream final, ready for the FPL season, yeah, that is the plan as well. We might even see FPL released sooner than expected, so that can maybe bring forward a bit of content there. I think the first draft will be the first piece of content for Fantasy Premier League, but I'll keep you posted on that very shortly. I would expect 15th of July or just a little bit afterwards in terms of the launch of that game, and we'll probably see some price releases over the next couple of days as well. So very soon I will be focusing fully on Fantasy Premier League until the return of UCL Fantasy in late August. Yeah, one more month. Time does fly. Twisted Parky says, the problem when it gets this far, as it gets a little dull because everyone gets the same team. Yes, but at least we still have differentials like Chalobah, Malo Gusto, even Joao Pedro, despite the fact he doesn't qualify for the scouting bonus. Nice little sticker there, Morpheus. See? Roberto says, who's the best captain from Cucurella, Chalobah, and Gusto? I'd probably say Gusto, even though he's a bit of a risk in terms of minutes. So there is the chance he gets subbed off before 60 minutes. I really hope that doesn't happen today, but I could see that maybe being one of my gripes with the semi-finals and not going for Chalobah instead. Yeah, I think so as well, Twisted Parky. And he's also got more attacking threat than Chalobah in this case, but it can go one or two ways as well. Thank you as well, Kusanagi. Thank you for your help. Hope to see you always at the righteous path. Very kind of you, and I'll see you very shortly. Yeah, the better player is Cucurella. He is very template, but a good captaincy option nonetheless. I do agree with you there. And obviously, you knew him at Brighton. Good luck as well, Fenerbahce. Chalobah I was going to get after watching him last game. Yeah, he played well, and that assist for Palmer was really impressive. I see James coming on for Gusto at half-time or 60 minutes. My hope is that it's at 60 minutes. That could be one of my regrets, to be honest. I was quite settled on Tosin Adarabioyo and Chalobah. I did change to Gusto, and that could be a mistake, so I'm really hoping for the best there, but who even knows with these fantasy games. Take care, enjoy the football. I'll see you very soon for the Matchday 7 content, and keep your eyes peeled for the return of Fantasy Premier League.